long time.
Yes.
So we've forgotten somewhat, and maybe
Okay.
a very quick
I'll
refresher.
give you a quick refresher. So I put this in the phases, see what's on the side.
I think I remember.
Yeah.
Give a site visit.
I think at least you
Yeah.
two were on the site visit.
Yeah.
I can't remember who else was there.
Yeah.
You were there too, yeah, okay. All right, this is a DPW project. Let me, well, this is probably a good map to use just to orientate you folks. 495 is here, 117 is here. This is Long Hill Road that comes down, and Meadow Road cuts the corner between Long Hill Road and 117. So there's a stream that comes down right through here and crosses Long Hill Road and then crosses Meadow Road on a skew and then makes its way down into Great Brook. And there's a pond right in the corner, inside corner of Long Hill and Meadow Road. And both of those culverts are failing to the extent that the road is starting to cave in on the shoulder. So it's been on Harold's list for a while. And so this plan set was developed to replace both of those culverts under a single notice of intent filing. So this is a more of a close-up view of it. There's two existing old stone culverts under Long Hill Road. This is the pond area with an associated wetland that comes all the way down to the existing pipe that comes under Meadow Road here, and then flows through the swale channel downstream down. What was happening is, particularly down here, this culvert gets overloaded pretty quickly, hops the bank and comes down the road here, like, you know, and it flows and it floods out the downstream residents down there. So, or it has in the past. It doesn't do it all every storm, but anyway. So what we're proposing is a replacement of these two culverts. This is probably the best plan to use. And in the case of Long Hill Road, the existing culverts are down in this area here. We have an opportunity, there's a bend in the stream channel here that kind of comes through like this. And this is a pond here downstream. So we have an opportunity to leave these intact while we're building a new one, so that we have it's an easier construction program than having to take out what's there, bypass pump, and then. So we're proposing to do that, put a new culvert in place there. Downstream is a little bit more tricky.
So you can leave both in place when you put the new one in, or just one?
The Long Hill Road one we can. On Meadow Road we cannot. Meadow Road we have to put it in place because it's just the way the geometry is with the stream channel. There's no way to keep that in. So we have a plan in place. Everything on these sheets that I'm showing you has not changed, and I'll get to why we're here in a minute. But sheet 6 is a detailed construction sequencing plan that kind of goes through the steps of how we'll do each of the culverts, you know, how we'll do the erosion control. And I think that was all pretty well spelled out in the past. The real reason why we're here is we had this proposed. We are filling a little bit of wetland area, mainly with this culvert. Because of the riprap, it comes down here, and we really need to armor that embankment there to keep from scouring and to cause it to make the turns in the culvert, just the way the geometry is. So we're going to be losing some wetland there. So we had a replication area shown with no specifications for planting. So I think as a result of the last meeting and also the site walk, that happy to answer any questions if there wasn't a site walk. I don't remember any. My notes didn't have any, but we've done now. Added a sheet 7, which specifies all the proposed plantings. This was prepared by I stamped it, but this was prepared by Brandon Ducharme, our wetlands biologist, and he.
We've met him.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. So he tried to spec plants that would be, tolerant to inundation, but also tolerant to salt in the road. And we have our standard. These are pretty standard replication specifications that include the monitoring that's required. I know you have some standard conditions that find their way into orders that that deal with replication, so we're anticipating that, so. That's really all, it's really the only reason that I was here this evening was to sort of satisfy that request to provide additional information and specs on the replication area. All the other, I modified the whole plan set just because I added a sheet and I wanted to make sure that you had an updated set for the, if you were to run in order conditions.
When do you think the work would occur?
Well, he kind of lost the season. Once it was past August or September, he kind of lost the season this year, so he's probably going to be doing it next summer.
He likes to try to do it when the school's not in session, I
Right,
think.
exactly,
That's
especially
me.
this one. The Meadow Road culvert's not as big of a deal logistically because you can get it from both ends, but Long Hill kind of poses an issue, so it's just trying to coordinate when the school buses aren't running in particular.
Which works for us as well, being low flow.
Local, yeah, it's usually the lowest flow, July, August. Also typically likes to get into the next budget year, a lot of times, so.
I think this might have been an article.
It could have been, I'm not sure on this one. So that's that. Is there any other questions on that?
I didn't get a chance to get out to look at where the replication area is. I mean, I see that there's some details on the elevations and everything, but I'm presuming it's all mature, or, you know, there's woods that have to be altered to put it in. It's not in an open area, or it is. I guess.
don't think.
Could it be staked out in any way too, if we wanted to take it?
We can, yeah, sure.
I kind of thought there were a lot of invasive plants there anyway, you know, and they were going to be, and so this would be an improvement.
I didn't do the same.
That seems to
Remember
strike,
that?
yeah, I'm trying to remember, because we looked at it too, and
We did,
it was
yeah.
somewhat naturalist, but it was a lot of invasives, and I think that's
Is it
what.
Yeah, it
called
could be.
skunk cabbage? Is that what it was
Oh,
called?
that was, well,
There was a
that
lot
was
of
a
that.
good, that's
Yeah,
a good
pulled
wetland.
along.
Right.
Yeah, that was all
Yeah,
along
there
there.
was
That's
some
the
of
one I
that.
remember the most.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this.
In the area where they went.
That would be where they're filling, though.
Right.
Yeah, it's been so long since they've set foot out there. I can't-
Yeah, us too.
mean,
Well,
there's
I think for
definitely-
that
it's
reason, it might be
definitely
good to
wooded.
have them just flag out or
It's definitely
stake out
wooded up
the
there.
replication area so we can
Sounds
see
good.
that in order to draft a order that will
Okay.
be, you know, if we want to do something about the invasives or make sure that the invasives are taken out a certain way or,
Okay.
you know, then it might be good to look at that again.
Right. Okay.
No, we can definitely stay.
Should we go as a group or we just go by?
Well, if you can let us know when it's done, and if it can be, you know, hopefully sooner than later before the snow comes, so we can see what's on the ground, would be really good.
Yeah.
And then we can each just do a drive-by.
Yeah, it's
Because
kind
we
of,
met there as a group before.
right, and then unless you had questions or something, I think just driving by and taking a look.
Okay.
Or if you wanted to go through, some of us could meet, either way.
It's harder to schedule out.
I drive that road all the time. Is there a place to pull off? I mean, it's kind of.
It's not a great place.
But it's not that busy either.
Yeah.
If you don't go, well, if you're going during commuting or school hours, then it's probably not easy, but,
When we did the site walk, we parked down near Meadow Road, there's some areas down, I mean, by Long Road,
Yeah,
Long Hill
Long
Road.
Hill.
There's some areas.
Farther up the hill,
Just kind of at the intersection of some wider spots.
there's some wider spots.
But and then you walk, it's not that far down, it's a few hundred.
We
feet.
tend to go on Sunday mornings, but
Yeah.
you can park almost anywhere
Yeah,
anyhow.
yeah, exactly.
Can we get a copy of this particular page?
Yeah,
so you
have-
sent me that electronically? Or did I?
I did.
Oh, yeah, then I sent it out to you then, probably.
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Well, I don't remember now. I'll have to look at what I sent. You don't remember seeing it?
You did, I don't believe I downloaded, I think you sent it to us.
You know what, it
Or
might
was
have
it
been
a bigger file?
It might have been a link.
It might have been a link. It was a
Yeah,
link. I
yeah.
sent it
Oh,
separately,
yeah.
not
You
with
may
the
not
packet.
have,
Yeah.
you may
And I
not
wasn't
be
sure whether
able
you guys
to
could
do-
get to the link, and I said that. I said I didn't know whether you'd be able to do that.
Yeah, it is a big file, so
That's why I was running it, I started to pull it
Yeah.
down, I was like, all right, this is a problem. I think I was in
okay.
the middle of the dance, but.
if I can, if any of you can open it that want to, and you can't, I can give you another link, I just.
Or
sometimes that's
just
limited to like
the
5 downloads.
replication page.
I could do, yeah, I could do that.
That might be better,
Yep,
right?
yep. That should be able to do just as a standard file. Okay.
And then just you'll notice when you get the replication page, one of the plants says, has the English and not the Latin. So
I'll make
if you're
sure
looking
you-
at the key, it
yeah.
says white pine, Pinus strobus, and then on the sheet, like where it shows them, it says WS. So it's like, I think he means white, or WP rather, sorry. I'm like, I think he meant to put the PS instead of the WP, but anyway. Just to confuse Harold when he gets there.
Right. That's right. Okay.
So then, you want to continue it to the January 6th meeting? Okay, so we're going to try to put the administrative up front at that meeting if possible. Actually, I think we already, let's see, what do we have scheduled? We already had Broomfield scheduled at 7, so next meeting we're still not going to be able to move that up yet. So Broomfield at 7, and we had Vickery at 7:30. So we had given half an hour to Broomfield. Again, we haven't, what do you think, Greg? Because we haven't got your comments
Probably,
yet.
yeah. With
You
the
think we're going to
holidays
be
and everything.
continuing it again?
I would think even if we got the comments in, that we might not have a substantial
Review, have it responded.
Just give them I'm trying to take a week off myself and we can holiday, so.
So I'm just wondering if you just want to do, you could do it at 7:15.
7:15, try to,
And
work
since
with it.
Broomfield more, or even
Yeah.
7:10 or 7:05, if
Well, you think
Broomfield's
it's
only
gonna-
going to continue.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's probably safe.
7:10 or
7:05.
7:05? Okay.
So this one's 7:05. Okay.
And you'll let us know when it's staked.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is that all?
Yes, sir. I don't have any more questions.
Okay, any questions?
Nope, all right.
Thanks. Be in touch.
Okay, so we have 15 minutes now. We want to jump down to Bill's mail correspondence. Do we have any bills in mail?
Yes, we do. Let's see. So we have one bill for the Fikeshire Dam, and I didn't have to sign it, but last week I sent an email to the contractor, and I said, it appeared that we were getting close to the end of our, what we've allotted, allocated for funds for this project, and I wasn't sure where they were in their billing. And he sent me a response this week, last Thursday, and they're actually a little over what they budgeted. Now, we still have the money in the article, but they didn't ever, say to me, we were over, so I mentioned it to Don today, and he said we need to talk about it, because they didn't put any change order in or anything like that. So I'm going to have you sign off in case he's fine with it going through, and it's just procedural that we have to go through whatever the change order is. So while I put that through, the other part that's on here is that they are submitting the dam safety certification, and we need to sign that. So I either was going to have the chair sign it, or you could designate me to sign it, but so it's just submitting the report that the project was completed in accordance with the plans.
So just one person needs to.
Yeah. So.
How much was it over by?
Sorry, it's in the email that I'm
okay.
passing through.
Here.
Yes. I think they were around 3,000, but then this other bill is 1,300. And they didn't think there was going to be much associated with putting this in. And so, but there will be some time that's needed when they do the paving and so they'll have to check that and do the as-built information for that. Or maybe not as-built so much, but check that. I know they had to go out at least in one other time because to do the as-built work because the contractor hadn't put that pathway bridge in the right location. So after they did the as-built, it had to get moved. So I don't know if that's one. I know that might be one item that was over. But anyway, I have to pull up the contract and see how it was done. They, in their email, say, it's time and materials, which I don't remember if that's how their contract was drafted. I know that there was that, there was a certain quote, and so I'm not sure if it also included the time and materials and whether that's okay or not. So Yes, that's all I had. I think that's all I had. There was one announcement. Just Tennessee Gas sent a letter this week. I didn't bring a copy of it actually, but pretty much stating what most of you have probably either heard or seen, that they have rerouted some of the locations, going to New Hampshire and so forth, and they mention that they have lateral lines, but they say nothing more about them. So it was not.
So we don't know whether they're still.
They are. I'm assuming from what they said, that they didn't change that,
Okay.
that those are still in the plan. And they said the reason we're getting the letter is because we're affected by the project. So.
So we're assuming for the time being it's the same route as the last one that they updated, the same lateral route.
Yeah, it's the same area that we walked when we did the walk. And they also said that they'd be doing public meetings, coming in the new year in January. So that'll be the next. They held off on the ones that they had originally scheduled in December.
But they said the reason they moved it was because of public outcry.
That's
So-
not what they said in their letter. Exactly.
That's what I read in the
In the
media.
newspaper, it sort of said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They didn't have enough time to respond, yeah.
their spin on it, right,
Yeah.
is that they moved it because they could co-locate more with other, existing utilities and so forth. So that was part of the public outcry, is you have alternatives, right?
Yeah.
So instead of saying, well, because we had that outcry, they're saying, we had alternatives that we found. So that was the only other correspondence piece, I think.
We can approve your minutes.
Yeah. So I sent out the October 7th ones because I couldn't find that we had approved them, even though I thought you had. So I sent it out again because I didn't have it in my notes. So it may be a revote or.
Interesting. I think I only saw the December 2nd. Did you send this? You sent us the October 2nd?
Well, if I didn't put it in the packet, it may have been because I'd already sent it. But I didn't put it in the packet.
You did, yeah, it's December 2nd.
That's all I
You
saw
did?
was December 2nd.
Yeah, not the
Oh.
October one.
Okay. All right. Well, then if you didn't see it before, then we'll do that. We'll keep that one on.
So he wants to do the December 2nd?
Sure.
now? So I make a motion that we approve the December 2nd, 2014 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I assigned, based on our conversation last time, I assigned times to all these things. I'm not expecting I'm expecting the Paces to come. I don't know when they're going to come, around 7:30, I think, because he's got actually something in Stowe at 8:30 or 8:40, so he was hoping you might switch him up.
Oh.
So if you want to just use them as the amount of time, basically the goal is to be done with wetland stuff by 8:45. But since you also did administration, now the goal is kind of to be done by 9 with wetlands.
The webs are coming at 7:30?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, I'm just saying, Paces, he told me he's going to come in around 7:30 and
Oh,
hope that he
so
can be
we
taken
could-
sooner, but I don't know. You can take him out of order if you want. I'm just saying
Yeah,
the times were just,
if the
so that we
webs-
could try to keep on track with basically all the times were for it.
Okay. Well, so what do you think?
So you have 10 minutes,
10 minutes
and we
to
had
work
given
around.
10 minutes to McGreen, so we could do
Oh, okay,
that one.
okay. Okay, so McGreen was the report on restoration and planting. They wanted a release of the surety. I guess there were a couple plants that you weren't sure about, but they called them.
Yeah, when I had gone out to see how the plants were coming along, I met with his wife, and things had started to fall back. It was the leaves had dropped, and so we were trying to find a couple of the trees that we just weren't putting our fingers on them. But then John went out and he flagged each one of them, and he found them, and sent the report saying that everything was still going along, and everything looked like it was coming along. They used plants from New England wetlands, which are small, but they put in a substantial number of them, and then they had taken out some for Liz and Heinz. I don't know if you had been at all involved with this. So it was after the fact. They had done some work, started to do a patio and expand the lawn, and so that work had to get filed after the fact, and there was a little bit of encroachment with some old leaf dumping and stuff like that, so they cleaned that area up and sort of tried to restore it to a natural area, put out stones to demarcate where, the edge of the yard was. The prior owner had a fence, and they'd taken the fence out, and so then we created a new way of demarcating it, and they had to do some plantings. So anyway, my recommendation would be that we would release the surety for them, which was half of what we it's $987.
So that was one.
No, that's what would be
that
this
is
time.
half.
That's half.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Okay, so I make a motion that we release the $987 to the McLeans.
A second?
All in favor?
Okay, I'm just looking for the form, because I had it for the last meeting, and stuck it in a file today. Just stuck it in somebody else's. That's where it's attached to this. Yep. Oh, wait, what did you just like, 987?
987?
Okay, I
Or
have
was it-
927 on here, let's see why they don't. $927 is the right amount, otherwise I do that.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we release the surety of $927 to the McGreens.
Oh, I would say, I have, their letter does say 987 now.
Right, but it's not half of the escrowed amount.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's why.
No, I wasn't sure that I was going to throw it, but yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So I needed to sign this.
Okay. Do you think we could squeeze in Skinner? or-
5 minutes, sure.
So Skinner, 39 Burnham Road, was a project that was done many years ago, as I understand,
Right.
before any of us were here. And they're just now wanting their certificate of compliance and the release of $15,000 surety.
So we have a letter from Ducharme Dillis. They've certified the as-built plan, and they say that the portion of the driveway, so the reason for the notice of intent was that a portion of the driveway was going to go through the riverfront area, and that was constructed in general compliance with the order conditions and approved plan. It was graded to minimize the amount of runoff being deposited onto Burnham Road, which is one of the requirements we had. And also they installed a boulder barrier to prevent migration of the landscaped area into the riverfront area. And they placed a conservation restriction on 21 acres of land. So that was a significant mitigation proposal for the work. The boulders are in place with some photographs.
So how many years ago did you say?
This was issued in 2007.
Oh, not that long.
7 years?
Just about across the street from the
So Maria, you weren't here for that either?
No.
Yeah, that's good. So, they actually had,
pictures of boulders.
yeah. So the boulders kind of come along this edge. This is the edge of, the driveway comes in, the woods, is beyond that.
Yeah.
And the riverfront area, let's see, I'm looking upside down.
same river?
Yes, it's on the other side of the webs. In fact, they had to do, they found that the septic system was on the webs or something like that, right? Do you remember that? Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, I know I've got something in the paperwork. When
Yeah,
we bought the
I think it
house.
had to, yeah, so the webs actually, the septic, they didn't live there, but the
Right.
septic was on the Skinner piece and got relocated onto the web piece. When this got surveyed, it got picked up. So inner riparian's here, so outer riparian's here. So this is really this section of the driveway that went through the outer riparian. And a little bit of this area along the edge at the yard.
And the river runs this way?
It's over here.
Okay.
There is a wetland area over here as well, though. And so there was also, yeah, I think this is a 100-foot buffer zone line. Came up to here. They didn't put in as much of the driveway, like the turnaround as had been proposed. And then, I mean, all of that's outside anyway. So I have been to the site, and so I would recommend you issue a certificate of compliance. And in this case, the escrow was for the driveway, and it was 15. Let me just double check. What it was, 15,000. Sorry, yeah, 15,000.
Okay.
So you know what, I'm going to add that onto the sheet, though, because I didn't do a separate sheet. Forgot to do that. That's when you vote.
So I can go ahead and vote?
Yes.
All right, I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance and release the $15,000 surety to Skinner 39 Burnham Road. All in favor?
Aye.
So as I have to have you sign the certificates of compliance, and I think actually, now that I say it, there was one condition that was ongoing, and that was that they could maintain the meadow. There's some of the yard is meadow area along the side, but it's not, I don't think the meadow area that we were originally looking at was maintained, that they've allowed it to grow in along the edge of the driveway. So it allowed them to do it, didn't require them to.
Okay.
So, sorry, second page, I didn't fill that out for you. Almost. Just so we can get those forms back. She can come up like this.
It's with me.
Paperwork back here on that one. We have the Webb's 33 Burnham Road. Public meeting on request for determination, and we all went out and saw the trees and had them nice and clearly marked. And, I guess well, I don't know, did you want to? No, okay. Were there 12 and 15 trees? Whatever they were. But
I think
anyway.
it's about 15 in the end,
Okay,
isn't it?
yeah. You had the group of 6 or so
Yeah.
right near the house that you wanted to take down to
Mhm.
the stump, and all the other ones you were able to just cut in low enough so that they wouldn't impact the power lines of the house or anything.
Yes.
Should they ever.
Mhm.
I think we identified at least one tree that they had not, that looked
Oh,
like
it
Yes.
looked like it was
That was your, my
Threat-
slanty one, yes.
threatening
Yeah.
power lines.
Looks somehow your consultant told you that it wouldn't?
He was not concerned on that one, but
It was alive, it was a red needle that was alive, but it really was tilted.
But it actually moved a lot.
Yeah, it looked like
Bent.
an ice storm would take that, and it would take the power lines right out. I guess they didn't think that that was a danger.
no. It has some, the power line or the tree has extra padding on, so I know, they're obviously
Yeah.
aware that they connect, but touch, so I don't know. I mean,
Well, the problem that we've had in recent years is that when there's foliage on the thing, in the spring or the fall, then that exerts extra leverage in the direction that it's leaning, and it was leaning on the line. So
Yeah. Well, it can hold this, have an early snowstorm, hold the snow.
So, I'm sorry, just to be clear, since I wasn't there, so when we had the meeting last time, we were talking about maybe just limbing some stuff. In this case, are we not, so we're not just
Well,
limbing them?
so there's, sorry.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
I think there's certain ones that there was dead limbs hanging that we would like tidied up and made safe. And then there were the trees that needed taking down to whatever height you're happy to do.
Actually, did we look at any of the ones you wanted limbed, or were all the marked ones I thought you wanted cut?
All the ones
Yeah.
marked were to come down. And then the only limbing I had was there's things that are branches that are hanging on
Oh,
by
yeah,
a
I see
thread. And
that, yeah.
I
Right.
think we sort of briefed, but I haven't marked that because there is just several up and down the driveway that I think common sense
Was
is
the,
okay to do.
they could access everything from the driveway?
Yeah.
Or do they have to drive down the slope at all?
No, I
or-
don't think so. It was all right along the edge.
And, so what was going to happen with the stuff that they cut?
Oh, I don't know. What would happen with the stuff?
I mean, the chap that we've got, he can chip it all and take it away as part of what we've talked about, but then again,
Was
we've
there
left
any-
it very open-ended because if you want something else to happen to it.
I didn't know if you
then-
wanted to leave any of it as biomass that would have come down either in the wetland or in the adjacent upland resource area or riverfront area. You've got all that.
I suppose why not? I mean, if it doesn't matter.
Probably lessens my cost. as
Well,
well.
it lessens your cost, and better from a habitat perspective.
Yes.
So,
Well, the crown is often messy. That's the thing.
Mhm.
some of these didn't have much crown. They were
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Little thin things
kind of,
going
yeah,
up.
they were. And I think, so we talked about, everybody's okay with them taking down the group near the house down to the ground, and then the other ones cutting just high enough so that they don't damage anything in particular. Okay.
And is that area, can I just ask, is that lawn or is that,
So the group that's closest that they
Yeah.
want to cut down to the ground, it's kind of, it's lawn, yeah, it's like
Mhm.
the edge of your lawn.
Yeah.
right, so then it sounds like what you're saying is you don't think that they need a notice of intent, that you didn't think that there'd be an impact if they did it as we've
The
been
wind,
discussing
yeah,
it.
the wind, yeah. Everybody okay?
So, all right, everything at 14, let's see if we can just change that. So you're saying you think there's 16 now?
Was
Is it 14? So then it'll be 15 if we add.
Oh, 15, and one was
Add
14
the-
and one was not dead, okay.
Right. It was leaning
Yes.
precariously on.
I'll ask him what he.
Well, I guess we're saying, it's
Yeah,
okay
it's
with us
okay.
if you want to take that one.
Yeah, and take it down to below the power lines, kind of. Right, great.
So do you want to look over the determinations to see what you
Sure,
want to
which
do?
one
I mean,
applies.
it's probably going to be at least 2 and also 3 because you're in a resource area.
Yeah, so 2 counts. Oh. So it's up.
Yeah, I just didn't look at the other ones. 4, is it anything? It's not, no. Well, would you say that this is exempt from the bylaw?
For what, like,
Maintaining landscaping? Oh, I didn't bring my regs. The regulations? Or it's in the bylaw itself? I thought I seen light coming over here tonight.
The mass or?
No, our bylaw. No, bylaw.
Can I write it in the proposal? The maintaining driveway and, I read the,
I know.
we're trying to.
Okay. Oh, so these are the regulations, but it should be in here too. So, maintaining, repairing, or replacing, adding to but not substantially changing. No, it doesn't mean that. Maintaining landscaping and gardens accessory to an existing single-family residential structure. Maintaining or repairing but not substantially changing or enlarging existing structure in a resource area such as drainage structures, culverts, bridges, driveways, or roadways. I think that's more maintaining the infrastructure that, in that one. I mean, you could make, I don't know if the trees around the house, if it's in the lawn, you'd feel that that's more like maintaining, but it's, I guess maintaining landscaping to me is more.
It's not really maintaining the landscape.
Yeah,
it's
that's,
just
yeah.
taking out
Right.
the danger.
Okay.
So we just.
Maintaining the infrastructure means that the infrastructure isn't.
Well, it didn't use that word
by
infrastructure,
having-
it used driveway, so I'm just
Yeah.
saying I think that there's more. So yeah, so -2 and -3, and then we'll just double check.
Or just,
Preventing trees.
should we give,
You want to put
before we go to
conditions?
them, no, I'm just wondering if, I'm wondering if leaving all of those, or having them leave all of the trees, all of that biomass in there is too much, and give them the option of, chipping and getting rid of the ones that, with the crowns near the house, because there's a little bit more there. The other ones that are just sort of,
Mhm.
sticks, won't be too much of a mess for you. I don't know, how do you want to do it? Would you rather get rid of it or throw it in the woods? It's basically what we're asking.
It seems like a lot of work.
It does seem like
Really
the
think
ones with
about
the
it.
crowns, those
Yeah.
6
Really
trees.
tough.
And there's
essentially
that
not
really
so
big
high.
pine halfway down that we talked about as well. I
Yeah.
think, and there is a lot of trees already down in that, going down towards the brook. So whether it's then impacting the waterway, if they slide down in or that sort of thing, I don't know.
I wasn't there, so I can't tell you exactly, but I think it makes sense to have it, to leave some of the biomass, but maybe, not, as I said, the crowns I know gets to be
I'm
quite a
thinking
bit of
maybe,
material.
yeah, the 6 that are near the house and maybe the big pine tree, you can
Yeah, get
have
rid
those
of
chipped
them
and get
then.
rid of them, and the other ones can just be
Okay.
awesome.
So you have an option of putting a condition under the -3 portion, so you might add it as a condition, that some of the biomass, be left, to sort of naturalize what would have come down in a storm.
Okay, let's see if I can word this then. All right, so I make a motion to make a negative determination, -2 and a -3. The work described in the request is within an area subject to protection under the Act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, the said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent. And also 3, the work described in the request is within the buffer zone, as described in the defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. Therefore, the said work does not require the filing of the notice of intent subject to the following conditions, which are that they leave some of the biomass in the woods between the driveway and the river, just for naturalization.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we sign this now?
Mhm.
Maybe you can save some of it for killing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
So I will put this in the mail to you unless you want to pick it up.
No,
But you
that's
should
fine.
make sure your contractor is aware of the conditions.
Yeah,
and-
sure. No problem.
Do you want me to put it in the mail, or do you want to maybe call you when it's ready?
Give me a call. I'll pop it in and pick it up. Save the postage.
Okay.
I asked you enough times.
Hmm?
Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a nice evening.
Okay.
No, if you want to take up the other one first, that's fine, great. Yeah.
Okay, so, Mr. Case, would you like to do yours now? Lot 4, Berlin
Got
Road?
another meeting over in Stowe.
You have a meeting over in Stowe? Okay.
Yeah, at 8:40, so thank you very much for taking
Sure,
it.
we're actually making great time today, so.
I thought you were retiring.
I retired from my paying job.
Oh, I see.
Into this.
Oh, okay.
This is how he enjoys his retirement.
Yeah.
I have 3 jobs now, I get paid for none of them.
Perfect. And anytime you want a job, just, you know.
All right, so we're going to be talking about the surety amounts.
Yes.
So you want to do one at a time? It'd be easier to keep
Yeah.
track for me. So I have one on Berlin Road first.
Which one?
Berlin Road?
Lot 4. Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I
What-
sent in a request or a bond estimate. I don't know if that one's an issue or not, but the well actually gets drilled in the buffer. But it's like, it's very close in order to make the septic system work. And my thought is, okay, that the well itself shouldn't be bonded, okay? It should be the restoration of the well, okay? And that's why I left that out of the bonding issue. It's more that it's not one isolated well. I got 2 or 3, it seems you're always doing that, and I don't think that was the intent of this. It's more to restore what was there rather than drill it up. And I'll just give you an example. If the well doesn't get water, it's not like it's bonded for that, it's bonded for the restoration. So,
What if it has to be relocated and then needs to have all the casing in and it doesn't come out?
you just cut it.
Yeah, but do we want that? I don't know.
Well, that's what you do with that well.
I'm just asking the question.
Oh, okay.
You know, or if it has to get replaced and has to be filled. I mean, the bonding is again to cover the things if they don't do it, right?
Right.
So the question, and actually I don't think in this case we didn't include the water line, so I would say we didn't include the infrastructure associated with that. It was just the well. But I would say it's not clear to me, well, he submitted a new estimate today, so I can't remember exactly what the difference was. And it may not have been on this one, but you sent me more paperwork
Yeah.
today. But it still doesn't include the restoration of the meadow. So I'm not quite clear. You gave me an estimate of $2,500 for required bond for graveling and driveway pavement.
You're on the wrong one, okay? I think
No,
you-
I'm not. I'm on Lot 4, Berlin Road. You have a portion of the driveway in the buffer area, and it's Jason Upland Resource Area.
Okay, then I've done 2 different things. I made 3 different requests.
Okay.
One for lot 4,
Yeah.
okay, one for the driveway, okay, because that was on a separate
Oh.
order of
Oh,
intent.
no, I didn't get that.
Letter, order of intent.
Oh, that's why you had a different
Yeah.
order of conditions listed on there.
Right, okay, exactly. So what I was trying to do is isolate that.
I did not bring that file.
Yeah, so what I did was, I had one, let me try to explain it, and then, okay. On this particular parcel, we had the common driveway, and we had the lot 4, which is 2 individual orders of conditions. What I tried to do is isolate that, although...
Right, but just to jump in, what I was saying is that in the order for the Lot 4,
Yeah.
there was a requirement for the work on the driveway that's in the adjacent upland resource area as well as the swale. So when I got this one this morning,
No, I
I thought it was for
understand how
this
you-
one.
how you-
So for lot 4, you didn't include that then?
Is, well, what I did is put it all in the other one, whatever.
Okay, well, so you need
Yeah.
to separate that information out.
Yeah.
So
No.
Yeah, okay, good.
so here's the well,
It's in the same, yeah.
the driveway and the swale associated with lot 4. And this was all meadow restoration that we were requiring them to put in boulders, 1, 2, 3, 4, all along here. And then this was going to get signed and restored.
Yeah, my, house goes here, we weren't going in this buffer, okay, so there's nothing to restore, okay, okay. I mean,
Except for with the driveway and the swale,
Right, okay, so basically what we were doing is
and the
just-
well, sorry.
Right, so you have roughly a 20-foot encroachment for the well, okay, where the silt fence, we adjusted it down, okay, and basically about 20 feet of well line. I don't want to use the word argument, I watch my words, okay, my concern, or my, whatever you want to call it, is that I don't believe that the well should be bonded, okay? You're gonna dig a well line that's 5 feet deep, okay, and you're gonna restore it. You're gonna, okay, you open it up, you lay the hose in, the water line, and basically you fill it back in, it's gonna be loamed and seeded. If for some reason that well didn't produce water, okay, you wouldn't fill the well in, okay, you basically cut it off, okay, and cap it and away it goes. So okay, I'm asking the commission, okay, I don't believe that's the intent, okay, and.
So it should be the cost of the trench, not the well.
Right, the trench and the restoration.
But so what we've done before is we've included the infrastructure, like with drainage, you've included the pipe. You haven't just included the restoration, the top of it.
But if there wasn't a.
I'm just giving them.
Yeah, no.
So if something happened and they didn't do it, what would the cost to us be to tuck this in? I don't really
Well, it
understand.
sounds like, so the question I asked before is, would you want the casings to stay in the ground? And if you don't care about that so much, then it would be the same thing as he's saying, cutting it off, filling it with sand, and capping it. And then you still have to restore the damage from the vehicles.
So which wouldn't include the water line, because you wouldn't have any water. You wouldn't put a water line to a dry well. And the likelihood of that happening is slim and none. Okay, we just drilled down deep enough, okay, that it produces water.
Of course, we don't object to the casing per se, because if it produced water, then it would be there.
Right, right, okay, and all I'd be suggesting to you is we cut it, and we cap it, okay, and that's in the,
We must have had other cases of wells in the resource area, right? Have we? I mean, what do we normally?
We have, and so it was just kind of following what we had been doing with infrastructure. Now, Bob made the argument to me that on another project that he had on Sugar Road, which had been permitted way before this, like it had been permitted and extended under the Extension Act and so forth, that one didn't have a bond, and I actually don't remember, to be honest. I know we had, that was the only work in the resource areas, and I know that there was for restoration of it, but I don't know that there was anything included in that case. I'm trying to think, what other ones have you had? I don't know if you've had another well before us.
I don't think so, okay,
So, but this one
the Sugar Road
and
one
West
we did.
Berlin Road, so he's looking to purchase West Berlin Road, which
Right.
is also on here, would be, also had it, because the well was the only thing going into the buffer on West Berlin Road, and so it was included. So it's something that we started including.
Okay, so that's good.
And I guess I'm arguing that
Contending.
It's okay.
Contending, thank you. That I don't believe that's the, if it is, I don't think it should be the intent, okay, to bond for the actual drilling of the well. It should be for the restoration. And that's all I'm suggesting.
I think it's a good point.
So if the restoration's bonded and that's not used, then they didn't do the work. You mentioned we'd have to repair the damage done by vehicles, but wouldn't that be included in the restoration already?
Well, I'm not sure what's included in the restoration, honestly, because first of all, I had the wrong thing because I didn't realize it. So then is this what I have from you, Bob? Please accept this bond of $500
That
for
was
the
what-
demarcation of the wetland buffer?
Right, which would be 1.5 times, would be $750. Okay.
So what about the restoration of the meadow?
May I just look at that one, please?
They're not dated.
An additional bond of $300, okay, as an estimate for the reclamation, okay, after the well drilling occurs.
Okay.
That's the-
What about the meadow?
That is the meadow, that's the only.
No, you've got all that other grading in the meadow.
Where are you talking about?
Well, I guess I was talking about, oh, maybe that is that area. I guess I was talking about here because it's shown as meadow. Oops, shoot.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
We're not touching that, okay? Basically, we're going right in here, we're gonna drill a well, and we're gonna run a line. I mean, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay, yeah, because the other area is grass, I guess, right?
Yeah, okay, it's all that thicket, if you remember.
Yeah, we turned.
So, all right, so then
Yeah.
let's say, so
Yeah.
he's given us 500 for what? 500?
For the boulders
For the boulders and the
Okay.
signs?
and signs, I think it was in there.
Well, it doesn't say, it's not clear, it just says 500. For the demarcation of the wetlands buffer.
Okay, well,
So I'm clarifying,
And the
what-
signs,
so
yes.
that includes the signs and the boulders.
just for a little bit of a chuckle, I'm on this medication, I forget things, and I sent her 2 or 3 things. She's been kind enough to almost correct the damn thing, so
I know.
I do apologize, okay?
Okay, and then I just got this today. So
Yeah.
additionally, the bond amount of $300 for the reclamation of the well drilling.
So it would
Okay.
be like 1.5 times.
So what are we going to do about the driveway and the swale? Because that shouldn't be in the other order. I mean, it shouldn't be in the other, it shouldn't be related to the other order conditions. It should be part of this one, because that's what it's called out for in the order for this one.
Okay, so we're talking about from here to here. Okay, let me just- so I roughly have planned this thing. As a matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the lot line? And that's out of the buffer. That's why that all is in the other order.
I don't know if that's the lot line.
Yeah, that's.
No, the lot line comes over to here.
Yeah.
Comes over to here.
That's it.
Oh,
right?
okay.
That's at the end of the line, isn't it?
No, it's absolutely not.
Oh, is there a right of way for the
No,
driveway?
it's right here, yes. That's what it is, there's an easement for the driveway. It's
Okay.
right here.
That's
So, so nothing is in that, that should be in this one here. Okay, which I,
I'm sorry, so that is the lot line? Show point.
May I?
Okay.
yeah,
This is a rock wall.
this is the lot line, right here. So the driveway for this lot is not in that.
Okay. So when we had this notice of intent,
Yeah,
we talked about that portion of the driveway and the swale numerous times. Not part of this common driveway?
Yeah, this swale.
And that's why it's included, is because we talked about it. It was part of the hearing process.
So isn't there a right of way that has to go with the house?
right.
No,
So-
it was
so-
usually-
Yeah, that's what
This is usually.
That's not the lot line.
What is it?
No, this is the lot line, I can assure you.
This is a pin.
What's
Yeah.
the,
These are
Yeah,
pins.
right.
It's strange.
You see
Maybe
it
it was
goes right here,
divided.
see it right
It was
here?
divided a couple times?
Do you, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
see this right
Yeah,
here?
that's what the.
All right, I might have a lot line plan.
what would this line be if it's not the lot?
That,
Previous
right, that was.
lot, and then it was divided many times.
This is Lewis's and Joe's land. But I can assure you, because I did the subdivision of these 3 lots,
Okay.
and this one. So I remember this distinctly, and again, if you look at the, you can see the straight line going through the wall.
Oh, you really can't do this.
No, you can. So if that's the lot line, okay, I guess what I'm saying is that there shouldn't be anything for that. But the other request that I've made on the different order of conditions, I think that was 617.
Well, you put 618, which again, I crossed off because I didn't know it wasn't part of this. I thought it was this
Yeah.
one that was coming in. I didn't know you were
No,
talking about
no.
that one. Okay, so wait a second. So the order of conditions that was issued specifically says the project includes the well, the driveway, the swale. You're now saying, after we issued that order, after the hearing went on for however long, that that's not part of it. So it shouldn't be included in the order. I guess I'm just wondering whether the
Well-
order should be amended or something, so it clarifies it. I
Well,
don't-
okay, to be honest with you, okay, I'm not saying I didn't understand, I'm not sure I did, but I was surprised to see there was an order just for the driveway. So I thought that was all in one order. So it's not. And maybe an amendment to that order, okay, is an order instead of driveways on order X, Y, Z, whatever it is. I'm telling you how to do that. I'm just suggesting that maybe that's the easiest answer for that.
Now, in the planting costs, is this the same, this is the fescue, or is this a meadow mix? What is the planting material? Your planting narrative,
I don't remember.
well, you've given us a certain amount of money, it's gotta be based on,
I thought, I
plants.
remember we talked about having a meadow mix, but.
Yeah.
right, and so,
Yes,
I'm just looking at the
I remember you
narrative to see
saying
what they
that.
had included, and it said
Yeah.
that they were, because it was in the natural heritage and endangered species area, that they were going to use a fescue, and then
Ah.
I think we said that we would prefer it to be more meadow plants,
Because it was
but they
meadow.
needed to check, maybe they needed to check with heritage, I can't remember now.
I don't remember, Matt was here for that.
Yeah, no,
So
I do remember saying.
when
that
Matt
it was
started talking about that, I kind of,
Turn off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the notice of intent says the proposed improved path to the house to become the driveway will be graded in a manner to allow for drainage to flow off the sides of the grassed areas abutting the drive flowing to a section of the riverfront area. So, I mean, the notice included, that work. That's why the order included the work.
But it probably says the same thing on the next order, too.
I think we always thought that the driveway ended.
Yeah.
The common driveway ended at a certain point, and then it became the individual lot.
Yes, it
driveway.
does. Right there, right here.
Yeah, I don't think that was clear. in the narrative.
I'm not questioning it. I
Yeah.
think I'm saying,
Does it matter? Because it looks like we could take the orders we did that we thought we were doing for the lot and then somehow change those orders so we can
Yeah.
put them towards the driveway. But does it make sense that whatever surety you're proposing for that part of the driveway, just to move that surety onto the lot one? In other words,
Yes.
rather than having us switch the two orders,
Right.
is it possible just for you to switch the two sureties?
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
That's what I
in the
suggested.
long run, if this is years later, which a
Right,
lot of them
right,
are, is it going to
right.
be clear to the commission
It's not
what
even
you
clear
did?
now.
Yeah.
It's not even clear now what we're doing with this.
Well,
How is it going to be clear?
I guess I'm suggesting that the only part of this that isn't clear is the driveway. Okay, if, let's put the driveway aside for a second. The demarcation and the well line, okay, is what I really asked for on this, because that's what I thought it was. And the other bond request was for the driveway. So I'll do it any way you want, doesn't matter to me.
I think if you just quickly looking through the order conditions, I mean, we have the requirement for an operation and maintenance plan for the swale associated with the steep section of the driveway. I mean, we completely believed that to be part of this lot and this work. So I think if it's not to be included as escrow for this, because you don't think it's part of the lot, then it needs to be amended to reflect it differently.
Is that just an amendment, or is that?
Is there any way we can verify that
Yeah, I
that's
think
the
you
lot
have to
line?
give us a plan. Sure.
Well, I'm not even sure I have it in my phone. I have it in my phone in the car, but there's the subdivision plan, okay, that is the lot line. As a matter of fact, you can see this is the lot that they're talking about right here. Going up here, it doesn't break, see it?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying, Janet?
Yes, I do, I see.
So can I just go back to the $500? Have you got an estimate from a sign company for making up the signs?
The little signs?
Yeah.
They're like $5 each. Okay, I remember having that conversation with...
I know, but so when we get the estimates, we like to have something that we're basing it on so that we can
No.
go to a company and get the same, you know, if we have to put them in, that we get that right amount. So I don't know that they're $5 a piece because the signs that I've had made are not $5 a piece.
How many are there?
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
every 25 feet.
Yeah, I think that's what we figured, and we were using on-site boulders, okay? It's incidental to construction, and we were going to place them. Okay, so $750 would seem to be, or 500 plus
1.5 times.
1.5
Yeah.
times would seem to be enough money to have some signs made.
I know, but the bylaw order, I mean, the bylaw regulations ask for the information to be submitted. So that's why I'm just bringing it up. So what they ask for is for you to give us an estimate, not just the amount necessarily, but what it's based on real.
Well, I've done this
So
before.
itemized is what you-
Yeah.
Well, I've done this before, and I've never been asked to do that. We'll get a break.
It's in the bylaws.
Well, okay, again, but I've never been asked to do that.
But I don't think we had a sign before from you, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we did it down on Sugar Road.
We don't have signs on that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
I don't think it was bonded.
Okay. Well,
It's just the fence.
Okay, I mean, so it's $450 for the boulders and $50 for the signs. I mean,
And I'm just bringing it up to the commission.
You know,
I mean,
I didn't break it up.
What we've asked for is to have something a little bit clearer so that if we have to go and do the work, we know, is the 500, are we going to be able to get them from on-site, the boulders, or do we have to get them from off-site, you know? So if the work doesn't get done and you sell the property and the homeowner said, no, we're not doing that, you know, then I'm just trying to track it so that we're consistent with how we do it.
We had this discussion before.
If he has to come back
Yeah.
with additional itemization, is it going to delay the project? Is there?
Well, right now, the
Well, I
order
think
doesn't
for-
reflect
Yeah, well, that's.
necessarily all the work even. I mean, so there's a question as to what we're doing. I mean, it's up to you guys, I suppose. Are you,
Well, I guess my thought would be is less work, not more work. So it's more
but
restrictive.
the order
for a
hasn't
lot.
been recorded yet, so I guess, you know, so if you record this order and then, you know, you sell the lot and it's not clear, you know, what is included in it, it's going to get more confusing. So the question is what are you going to, are we accepting the money at this point? Are we accepting work starting if once they get their recording done, or how do we want to proceed?
First things first is to verify what the actual lot line is, because.
Okay.
But I think we have, Janet, and I'm not trying to just shove this down your
We've
throat.
worked on
No,
it
All
but-
along, we've gone under the assumption that that was?
But I don't know what you went under the assumption.
We went under what you submitted in your notice of intent.
But this was, but, you know, I can't,
Right.
this is gonna come out wrong. Okay, I mean, here's the plan, there's the lot line.
Right.
You know, okay, I don't know what you
I
thought.
think because of the size of
Yeah.
the text here, that this part here looks like it. At least it said previous, because these are all smaller. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and then if you look at
But down
this
there,
one.
it's not.
No, but no, I see it, but part of the problem is, assuming you're
Yeah.
absolutely correct,
Yeah.
right, that this is the lot line,
Yeah.
what we're
Okay,
saying is,
then there's this
we
too.
put order of conditions on this for this parcel.
I don't care if you change them.
No, but that was, you know, if we change them, we'll have to take them off this parcel and put them on this parcel.
That's right.
But we'd actually have to do that first. We'd have to, you know, it's hard to take a surety against something where
Right, it's not clear.
we haven't, you know, we have to completely change the order of conditions, not completely,
Right.
but we need to kind of do those motions first. Well, I guess figuring out the surety is part of that.
So, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to figure, I mean, how do we?
Let me suggest this, okay? Let's agree on the surety and then, okay, and then we can agree on how we're gonna do that, okay? I mean, if what I've said makes sense, that's what I was really here for, not to delineate the lot line. It was more to talk about the surety. And,
But I just want to.
yeah, please.
If the lot line were not this, shouldn't some of the, is there something that should be,
Yes.
something based on work
Yes, then the
over
surety should
here?
include that.
The surety should include that, so I think we really need to prove
We can't
where the
just
lot
accept
line
it,
is.
a surety amount, it's gotta be attached to something.
Right.
And what I've suggested is,
It may not be attached to the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
okay, but what I'm suggesting is, this lot isn't gonna have anything with the driveway in it. The new driveway number, 617, 618, whatever it is going to have a new bond amount. I'm good with that. I'm not as concerned about this one as I am about this, because I want to get the well drilled while I can still get up in there. Okay, that's my dilemma.
Do we have an order of condition on this property which includes work which belongs on a different parcel? If that's true, then
Yes.
the only way we can get this established is to move
Yeah.
that specification to the correct property.
Okay,
Because we can't just...
No,
can't
no,
just
no, no,
remove it.
no, I'm with you. What I'm asking you is, whatever we're going to do, can we streamline this to say, whatever you're going to do to create this, so I don't have to come back again and argue and speak to the surety amounts? We'll agree on the surety amounts and all.
I think the surety amount will be different, though, if the lot line is not where you're saying it is.
This one won't.
Well,
You're just asking with the well.
Right. Right, okay, so this one
Okay,
won't.
okay, I see where you're going.
Right.
Is, let's look at this one, agree on the surety for that one.
Right.
We'll assign the work over there, where we don't need to establish the surety because he's not going to start it yet.
Exactly.
right, but that's okay to do that, even though it's not on the same, it wouldn't be on the same order?
Well,
You have to remember,
You know,
too,
it's-
It makes me uncomfortable to not be 100% certain of this lot line.
Yeah.
Something you submitted to us before must have had that part of the
Yeah, I'm sure.
driveway.
the notice of
in-
intent
The notice of intent
included
included
the driveway and the swale.
There you go. So that's why we thought it was there, that was included.
And you looked at it when you went in the field. I remember Lori had been out there, and that was
Yeah.
part of the comment, that you guys looked at that section of the driveway that was going to lot 4.
So that's
Remember
right-of-way
there's an
driveway. Isn't that right-of-way driveway, not shared driveway?
Yes.
Isn't the other one a common driveway project?
Right here, do you see this here?
Yeah,
Okay, that goes to this lot.
right,
Okay, the shared driveway goes this way.
right.
Okay, well, it's all shared, but that, yeah.
Regardless, yeah.
Can we approve a surety contingent upon his supplying proof of where the lot line is? Or do we really need to write a whole new, or how? Is there?
Yeah, I think you need to write a new order if that's not on the lot, because you have conditions in there that need to be complied with, and if they're gonna sell, it's not like he's building this for him, if they're building it to sell, and somebody's gonna get this order conditions, and it's not gonna be clear. So if you do a contingent, you need to do a contingent upon them filing an amendment to this order, or requesting an amendment to the order, and I would say within a certain time frame.
Say the last sentence again?
Yeah.
That they need to do, they need to file the information necessary to amend the order, and they should do it within a certain time frame, so it doesn't linger. Because you're gonna let them get, if you're gonna accept the surety and let them get started to drill the well, you don't want this to get lost again, and then
Right.
continue doing, building everything out, and they've submitted a schedule of the work that they wanna do, so.
Okay, so we can assign a surety contingent upon, or are you saying?
Them amending the order conditions.
Okay.
And if they can't prove that they
By a
don't
certain
have that,
date.
then they need to submit that additional surety.
Okay, so by what certain date then, how much time?
Well, the next meeting is January 6th. I think it'll be hard to get it in, to get the notices and everything in at that point in time. I'd probably go to the next meeting in January, and so that they need to have filed it by,
Well, okay, can I ask you, we're amending what exactly? Because I wish Matt was here, I thought this was,
I guess we have to amend the order of conditions so that
Yeah.
the existing one includes all this work in here, and we need to amend it so that it does not.
Okay.
because it's not within that lot. But
Okay.
what you're
But
saying
you need
is
to
strict.
submit the proof of that lot
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, I mean, even if they were open downstairs, we just go get it. Okay, I mean,
There's
that's...
no downstairs here.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's your, and basically, I'm saying it's your burden,
Well,
okay? You
well,
need
what
to
I'm saying
prove-
is, okay, I'm not arguing with
I
you.
know, you are, but.
Well, yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
but this is
it's
the-
your burden to get
No,
the
but I-
amended information to the commission. You need to provide a request to amend, there's a fee for it, and there's a process for it, and it requires a legal notice in the newspaper, and you need to notify the butters again.
And I guess I'm asking, okay,
The order conditions now includes that work on the driveway, and you're saying it's not part of that lot. So it really shouldn't be part of that, even though you guys went through months of this with us. So now it's coming to light that it's not, so you need to go through the amendment process.
but I'm not sure.
You're not sure whether it's
No,
the lot line?
no, no. First of all, you're asking me to show you proof. This is the proof. This is the proof.
We have a subdivision plan, you said.
Well, everybody has a subdivision plan, but this is the proof. This is the plan, and these are the lot lines. All it's going to do is have a little less.
So then you need to
Lines.
request an amendment to modify the order of conditions to delete certain things that are not applicable to the lot.
Okay, but we don't actually write the
You need to
right?
make the request to amend the order to delete the sections that don't apply.
Right now, you have an existing order that
Right,
says
it includes
this
all
is
that.
part of it. So we would have to figure surety for this and this, because that's what your order says. Now, we can change your order so,
Right.
if we say, all right, that's a new lot line, the order shouldn't contain this, it should only
Right.
contain this.
The surety has to be
Yeah.
consistent
That's fine,
with the
but
order.
Okay,
we have to submit
okay.
to change the
Let me ask you a
order.
question. Why can't I just change the surety? It seems to be easier.
Because it has to be consistent with the order of conditions.
Because you just said it doesn't apply to the lot, so a homeowner's going to buy that new lot, and then they're going to have all
But
these
it's going to be
conditions.
done by the time I'm done.
Well, you know what, sometimes people buy things when it's not quite done. If the driveway, if you don't do the shared driveway or the common driveway, and you've only built the lot, then do they have that burden? Because it's on their order conditions.
That would be up to them to read them too.
And
Okay.
same with where we are today with
If we
you.
don't change it, when somebody goes to get the surety released, then we look at the order of conditions, and it includes a bunch of things which don't have anything to do with that lot.
What if I just add the surety and don't have to go through this whole?
It's
Pretend that
not,
that's the lot line?
the problem is.
No,
the
not
surety-
pretend it's a lot
The
line.
problem
We have to read them.
the
He's talking
problem
about-
is the order of conditions on which the release of the surety is dependent mentions things that you aren't doing on that lot.
But I am doing here.
Yes,
Right.
But not on the lot.
But it's for different people, it's somebody else's lot.
I just wanted to do a time check. We've got 8:20.
Yeah, no,
Victory.
I gotta get out of here too. So, okay, so how do?
Let's wrap, can we wrap it up in 2 minutes?
Yes, okay, but you have the other one too, so the,
Oh,
Well, I don't think we have time for that now.
the,
Right?
yeah, we
Well,
need to.
We had 20 minutes allotted for it.
Got 5 minutes to Vickery and 8:20.
okay, give me 5 minutes, okay? This year, we're gonna amend to, basically, I'm gonna have Matt call you, okay, and figure out what it is. Okay, because it's well beyond my pay grade on this. Okay, so I'm just gonna have Matt give you a call. Okay, let's go to the next one, at least I'll get that one done.
So all looks for
So all we've decided is Matt's
you.
going to call me.
He's wants, yeah,
Right.
we're not going to
All right.
finish with that right
Yeah.
now. He wants to move on to
Can
the other one.
can we continue this to the next meeting?
Sure, I guess.
Well, I don't, why continue it if you're not going to have the opportunity to amend it yet? It's true, we can't amend it by the next meeting, because he has to do the legal notice and notify the abutters. I mean, that's the process for going through an amendment, and where this
Don't we have
is,
to do that by Thursday? No, I'm just asking.
no, you have to have already submitted, I think, for the next meeting.
Okay, let's do this.
So we're talking the second meeting in January, and Matt can call me, we can get the dates and figure stuff out.
So that's not a continuation, that's a new
That would be a new meeting to amend the order, and in this case, because you've got common driveway and shared driveway and people who came to the hearing, I think you should make sure you go through that process.
The only other way that he can keep going with the dates in the delay is to come up with a surety based on the existing order of conditions.
No, but we just said that you don't want to do that
Incorrect
because
lot line.
you didn't have the information.
This lot line is really what you say it is, we need to correct that.
Yeah, but that section of driveway isn't shared driveway, isn't it? Isn't that section of driveway the right-of-way that goes with the homeowners, the new homeowners? And in effect, they would be the ones responsible for maintaining it. You know what I mean? Isn't that section of driveway not part of the shared driveway when it comes to maintenance? Wouldn't that go to the homeowners?
There's no, so the section that he's showing, there's no
Yeah.
driveway there now.
No.
So I don't know who the owners are, to be honest.
Right.
I thought it was
No,
them
but-
because that was their.
But I'm thinking the order of conditions on that section of the driveway,
Well, if
right?
that's
Shouldn't
not-
it go with the homeowner because they're going to be responsible for maintaining that section of the driveway?
So I have a question behind that, is if, can you put that driveway in there if it's not part of that lot?
Yeah, there's an easement.
Oh,
Let's do the other one, because that's just as important.
okay. So lot 3.
The exact same issue. Okay, with the well being,
Oh, well, okay. That's not
And,
driveway.
You want to see the plan on that one?
Sure.
Yeah, otherwise I have no idea what.
same thing, the house is up near the street, that well is,
This is a different unrelated property.
unrelated,
Yeah.
this is on Westbrook, this is on Westbrook Berlin Road. Horrible. Well marked here somewhere. Yeah, that's an existing well, so but that can be here somewhere.
Is this the one, is the original landowner on the next lot, is that what this is?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. I remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
See it on
This is
the,
like-
you can see it here, Brian, next, see the circle on the enlarged one? That's the
Oh,
well.
okay, yeah, there you go.
It just
Oh,
went
right
over
here?
it, yeah.
Okay,
Proposed.
so it's somewhere back in, right
That's
there.
right,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right, good, okay, exactly where you should. So this is just inside the buffer zone,
Yep.
okay, and that's the same thing, all, okay, do you have the
So
request?
is this simply a matter of having the surety represent the trench rather than the well?
Right, yes.
With no other lots and
Right.
shared
Driveway.
driveways?
How do you get to
Just
that?
ask it.
This one, you know, the house is
Oh,
here.
okay, I see. That's-
So again, he gave us a figure of $500 for the demarcation of the wetlands and $300 for the reclamation for the well drilling.
What?
Well drilling area.
And are you asking now to not include the well drill? Is that what
Exactly right.
Okay.
About 10 feet inside.
Well, your 300 is for restoration,
Yeah.
reclamation. So he's
Yeah.
not including the well drilling, but he's saying he can do just the
Right.
reclamation area for
Yeah.
stabilizing it.
It's approximately 10 feet in there.
So what you're saying is, you want to leave it at the,
Yeah, so this is what he's proposing, $500
Yeah.
times the 1.5, and then $300 times the
well,
3.
okay, and that doesn't include the well?
Right. And so, again, it doesn't have any information on the sign costs or anything, that's just his
Okay,
estimate.
So it's not itemized?
No.
So it's not itemized, and it doesn't include the well.
Right.
So what do people think about that? Should it include the well, and should it be itemized?
I don't think it should have to include the well for reasons that we've already discussed.
I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree with that.
I think
What do you
it
think,
is.
Liz?
If it doesn't work,
Yeah.
then what happens?
Would you drill deeper?
Yeah, you would continue to drill, okay? I mean, you're limited, okay, where this can go because of the septic system. You're just gonna have to drill deeper. Don't say that, I don't wanna do that. We've been very fortunate, okay, a lot of good wells here. I mean, the big aquifer here.
Right, but the surety isn't to.
No, it's
for
not
us
for
to-
well.
To dig a working well.
Right, so
Right.
the surety is to make sure that this
No,
gets back
to-
to its
It's
natural.
to stabilize it, one, and also if you need to do any work to remove any of the material or to finish the job, if they don't finish it, and you want to get it to the point that you've got something in there. That's just how we've sort of looked at the infrastructure.
Typically, we do include it.
Well, we've been including it, right? We have it in these couple of lots, so this is the first time it's come up as a question.
Oh, it had, okay. But even prior to.
I don't
his
remember,
property,
honestly.
so-
I don't know.
No.
He's been before us more recent for most of the
Yeah.
lots, so I don't know. He wasn't the applicant in this case. This was, American Engineering came before you, and their clients never came as part of it.
So we're approaching 5 minutes after into Vickery's slot, just to
Okay.
let you know.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem, the well, the infrastructure well, I tend to agree. It is a tough one, but not taking the surety against it, kind of fallen on that. I would like to see an itemized surety list, the plan surety, we usually do look for that.
It's
well,
only the boulders and the signs.
Yeah, no, I was trying to think if we could pass something contingent upon receiving an itemized list that is, within 5%, plus or minus 5% of the estimate we're giving tonight. I'm wondering if we can do something like that, but, again.
Sounds good.
So I guess one thing I just worry about, I don't really understand the wells very well and what could happen and what kind of trouble you get into if it doesn't get done. And it seems like we're setting a new precedent here to not include the cost of the well in the surety. And
I don't think you are, and let me just explain why really quickly.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't get water, you wouldn't do any excavation. All you do is cap it. Okay, there's a little bit of silt. There's a little bit of silt in it.
Is it really okay to leave it in there?
Can we make a motion and vote on it and end the issue? 'Cause
Well, Dana was asking a question.
Well, go ahead.
we can still have discussion after we make a motion.
Sure. Do you want to go ahead and make a motion?
I move that we remove the cost of the well from the work to be covered by surety on lot 3 in West Berlin. Do we have a second?
Is there an order,
Is there what?
is there, don't we need to say that there has to be an itemized list? Isn't that part of the,
Yeah.
Conditional on submission of an itemized list varying from the current estimate by no more than 5% within a week.
There's only going to be a sign. That's all it's going to be, because that's all there is.
Well, you should give us the cost of the plants. Like, what are you planting there? What's the restoration?
Okay.
And actually, so what is the restoration there? It was, is that part of the yard? I can't remember.
No.
Well, it is, right?
Well, it's in the
No,
buffer.
it's part of the buffer, but your demarcation of your wetland is below it. So I think that's part of the grading, and that was part of the mitigation, is that we're getting a conservation restriction on this lot, remember? That's also on the agenda, actually. I think you allowed that part to be lawn and to get graded. So I guess the question is just whether, do you want to give you the cost of the seed? That's usually what sometimes they
I'll give you
require.
the cost of the
And the
seed, the
labor,
cost of the
right?
signs.
And the labor. Yeah, right. And I guess since, well, let me just see what that is against. So there is some grading in that area as well. So it would include the grading and, the labor for doing the work.
Now, Matt's given us itemized lists before.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
contact
fine.
him.
Yeah, no,
You
that's
should
what I'm
know
going to do.
do.
Okay, so I'll get that done for you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
We did 4 to 2.
Thank you.
No, I know you're leaving, but I just want to tell you, you still have incomplete in your schedule that you submitted to, so.
What do you mean?
I can't talk about it right now because we got to move along, but your schedule you submitted for doing this work
Yeah.
is still incomplete.
That's
So you got to read the order.
I did.
No, I know, but it's still incomplete. It didn't include all the stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So do you guys need to discuss Century Mills or do we move to Victory? Those-
Well, I know they're listening, they wanted to,
You know, we're
John,
in no,
I can't re-
Joe,
Joe,
and
okay.
we're in no hurry at all, so. We don't get out much.
So anyway, they were here to listen. They knew that we were going to talk about, any questions and stuff that we wanted to put together for the next meeting. So you could take that up. I'm not expecting anyone from Century Mill,
Oh,
and
okay.
since you'll need to leave, maybe
Just do this
make
now.
a little more continuity. But so I'd only scheduled the 10 minutes, and
Yeah.
so,
So we only scheduled the 10 minutes. I wrote out some things that I didn't, well, I had planned to say at the last meeting, but we ran out of time. And I know that her, what's his name?
Mickey Marcus.
Yeah, Mickey Marcus, the consultant, wanted some information from us about, I guess, what we thought should be done. So I was just kind of putting my thoughts together, and I'll just read this to you guys, and you can add, subtract, or whatever. But I thought, and I know it's supposed to be public meetings, I don't know what it's okay to provide to them in writing, but I'm just read what I wrote, and if it's not appropriate, then okay. So I wanted to make sure they understand that we understand that she was unaware of the importance of the stream in the paddock, and that she believed that her endeavors were exempt from the wetland laws. And our desire is to bring her into compliance with the laws, and that's not meant as a punishment, but it's just our duty in administering the laws as fairly as possible, as we would want to do for everyone. And that we don't dispute the value of her mission, but we must administer the laws fairly to everybody. And that means we must base our findings on facts and not on a judgment of her mission. And I just also wanted to point out that on a previous property that I think this case was going on right before I joined the commission. It was a property with pet horses, and at that time the commission did determine that that one did not meet the agricultural exemption, and repair of stream. It was a very similar situation on Wiley
Oh,
Road.
yeah. Yep.
Was ordered. So there's precedent. I mean, this is the way. This is consistent with how this commission has dealt with these horse properties. And after reviewing the Bolton Wetland Bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act and the Farming and Wetlands document, what I thought was the following. The paddock does meet the exemption for agricultural activity under the Bolton Wetland Bylaw, but it does not meet the exemption for agricultural activity under the Wetlands Protection Act for at least one of these reasons, maybe 2 or more.
Which paddock are you talking about?
The one that had the shed in it, the long, narrow one that had the stream going through.
Okay, paddock with the shed, you're saying you think it meets the...
Agriculture exemption for the Bolton Wetland Bylaw because that includes non-commercial. But I don't think it meets the exemption for the Wetland Protection Act because, number one, the paddock was not an agricultural use as defined by the Act under the previous owner 10 years ago. The owners kept pet horses. They did not sell any agricultural commodity. And the stream, as we can see from Google Earth maps, it appears that it was vegetated then. And the exemption under the Wetlands Protection Act is only for, agriculture that took place, prior.
But this is a very tricky feature. It's not whether the current work is agricultural. It's whether the property was already in that
Exactly.
use when you made your modification.
And I just want to finish this. We also don't have any documentation that shows that the project is a for-profit enterprise, and it's extremely clear under the Wetlands Protection Act, the exemption for agriculture. It has to be a for-profit enterprise, and maybe it isn't or it isn't, I don't know, but we haven't received any documentation for that. And then the third thing is, I think Carol spoke with somebody from, is it the NRCS?
Yes.
Natural Resource Conservation Service, that a paddock might not even meet the exemption anyway, because I'm not a horse person, so I don't know these things, but that person said that it's specifically to exercise the horse, and unlike a pasture, it's not strictly required to raise the horses. The law is very specific about it's the land that's used to raise the commodity, whether it's horses or eggs or whatever. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And then my further thinking was that since she did purchase the property believing that she could create a horse sanctuary with exemption from the wetland laws, that we might consider compromising with her. That she could continue to use the paddock for horses if she provides evidence, bank statements or receipts that her enterprise is for profit. Give her a certain amount of time to do that. And just to add to that, my understanding after reading all this material is that the horses don't need to be sold for slaughter to be considered. They can be sold as pets, and that's a perfectly legitimate agricultural activity. But they have to be sold with the intention of making a profit. And number two, that she allows the stream to revegetate by fencing it off from the horses and creating a bridge where they can cross, so they're only crossing in that one area. And that she filed with the NHESP since I think the entire property is within priority habitat.
Right.
Correct. And then the one thing I'm not sure, and we can always discuss this, is should the shed be moved? Can the shed stay if she does all these other things? So that was what I wanted to get at. I was very frustrated at the last meeting that there wasn't the opportunity to say anything.
Well, clearly it took you a lot of thoughtful work to put this together, which required more time than you could possibly have at the last meeting anyway. And I think you did a very, very excellent job at identifying the issues and presenting them in a clear way. I don't think the existence of the shed in and of itself is adversely affecting the riverfront or the stream. But clearly the other activity is and should be a concern.
But can I just ask you to clarify, do you mean the horses congregating there, or do you mean?
The crossing.
Okay, because I would add, I think, the congregating as well as the crossing.
The thing I'm concerned about is the devegetation.
Yeah.
I don't think that's caused by the shed in and of itself being where it is.
The purpose of the shed is to have the purpose of the shed. The shed doesn't cause it, but it's used, you have to get there.
So it's not so much like the runoff of the roof, which, if it were a bigger structure, that could be an issue in and of itself, but this is a small shed, and so the roof runoff and so forth. But in that it would be a place where the horses congregate. It's really the congregation, the activity of the horses that's the impact.
So the path could be constructed to the shed that would protect the areas that we talked about.
So what would you want them to provide for information, I guess?
Well,
you've said a few things, right? So I guess I just want to make sure I get a list, that we're going to put together. So you want, or suggesting that they put together information to show that it's a for-profit endeavor.
Could it be argued that the Bolton bylaws contradict, that's what you said, that's what you opened with, is that it does meet Bolton, but it doesn't meet,
Well, can I ask a question about that? So the way it's defined is it says lands lawfully in agricultural use. So again, I'm not sure that it's defined that well, what lawfully means, but if you have a wetland violation essentially where you're not keeping the integrity of the bank and the buffer, the 25 feet under the bylaw, intact, You know, is that land in lawfully in agricultural use?
Yeah, I guess I sort of thought that our bylaw was not clear.
No, I'm saying it might not be, but if,
Extremely
I'm just
clear.
throwing that point
Yeah.
out. I'm
Yeah.
throwing the point
Our
out.
bylaw is not clear. I didn't feel like it contradicted, it just wasn't clear.
But so our bylaw, again, our bylaw is the resource area and 25 feet. You know, that's the resource, that's the wetland resource. So I guess I just throw that point out, is that is that land lawfully in agricultural use? If you're causing that disturbance and destruction of the wetland resource.
I don't know, but if you couldn't cause that disruption, then what would the exemption mean?
Well, you've got the additional 75 feet,
Oh.
right? So you might be working outside of that 25 feet and not have altered that.
So we don't know, our bylaw doesn't say. I mean,
But it doesn't define lawfully, but you have to
Right,
think of
exactly.
what's lawful. Is it
Right.
having a negative impact and, a violation in some other way? Or is it doing some work that's not impacting it and it's in accordance with what you expect to be
Well,
exempt?
your point is that the Wetlands Protection Act is
excruciatingly clear. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
effectively more restrictive because it's more specific.
Yes.
It just supersedes our bylaws anyways, right?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't in
Or we
those
could- we could
direct
try to-
terms, because
Right.
they're separate laws, so it doesn't ever supersede it that way, except
Right.
for there are some things in the act, like the mosquito control. That's specifically called out as something that you can't preempt in your bylaw. So there are some things that you can't preempt when you put together your own bylaw.
But I would go along with your interpretation of it.
There's the home rule that I think I remember reading about, and so that helps to sort out where the municipality versus the state or the Wetland Protection Act, so it can be used. So I'm just,
What's it
Well,
called?
the home
yes,
rule?
well,
is that
home rule
what
is
it
what we did with adopting a bylaw. That's that cities and towns have the right to have their own bylaws.
Right.
And so we've created that, and it's been approved by the Attorney General. So the bylaw is, been an approved document, and then we've adopted rules and regulations that go along with it. Our rules and regulations, when we did the definitions, didn't define lawful.
Right,
But,
so
I
this
mean,
is
it's-
telling
it's-
us that we need to do more work on the bylaw, eventually clarify.
On the regulations possibly, yeah, and you learn as you go, if something comes up and it becomes confusing.
It's never come up before.
But I guess my point is just, again, so if you're looking at two separate things, you're saying that at this point, the existing paddock where the shed is located doesn't seem to meet the Wetlands Protection Act exemption.
Right, I
And,
think
but you think it does meet the bylaw exemption, and I'm just throwing out that part about the definition of it is lawful, and I just want you to think about that part when you make sure you
So one might
put
say
that
it's
into
unlawful.
consideration.
But our
Well,
bylaw
or you-
can't be less restrictive. It cannot remove even partial restriction of an underlying state law.
Right, but again, they're not, we're just saying that they don't have to, if it's lawful, we're not, under our bylaw, we're saying they don't have to file with us for that kind of thing. So,
Right, but if they do by the wetlands law,
yes, they
then
still
do.
would under the
Yes,
wetlands
sir.
bylaw, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So if you looked at your determination, which we filled out before, there was a place, is it exempt from your local bylaw? Because the form under the determination, so that, the other thing is
I
that.
understand, but practically speaking, what difference would it make? Because
Right.
we have to administer the act.
I know, I'm just distinguishing, if you don't say it's exempt,
Yeah,
the reason you might not would be because is it lawfully
okay.
in agricultural use?
Right, but it practically, as we go through this case, is it going to really make a difference whether it's
No.
exempt from that or not?
Well, I don't know about that. I think it would have, because if it was appealed and you go to court on your bylaw, it would make a difference.
No, on the bylaw, I think their appeal, if they appealed it, would be with the state.
You appeal to both. You can't
Oh, you
just
can't
have,
just
yeah,
do
you
the
can't
one.
just get one. You have to appeal both.
Okay.
I mean, your bylaw is a law.
I
If you denied it under the bylaw and approved it under the state act, or if you denied it under the act, and I'm not talking this project, I'm just saying in general, and approved it under the, whatever way, you have to get both in order to be able to move forward on the project. So you.
Oh, no, they would, right, so, but if we denied it under the act, they would be appealing under the act.
Yes.
But I would not feel comfortable denying it on the bylaw because I don't think the bylaw is clear enough.
Well, and that's a different point. And I'm not even talking denying it, because there's no denial in a request for determination. I'm just saying,
Right.
I'm just trying to make it clear for some new people who are doing this, you have two separate processes. You have a separate process when you approve something under the bylaw, and you have a separate, the confusing part, I guess, on a request for determination is that we don't have a separate form, so we just use the state form, because you're just making a determination. Your determination is whether they need to file a notice of intent or not. Do they need a notice of intent or not? Now, they've taken this to a little bit of a different level, because they've in their narrative have said, these things they meet an exemption or they don't meet an exemption, so you sort of have to answer that. But the form itself, if you just look at the form, that's all the form's really giving you, is the opportunity to say you need a notice of intent or you don't.
I don't think I can justify a positive determination based on the bylaw.
For the whole thing or just for the shed?
For the agricultural use.
Do you have the bylaw here where it's
No, I didn't
about
bring my stuff.
agriculture? That's maybe we need
But she's the regs, Liz has the regs. Because I would separate out the new paddock that's being proposed, because that's not land and agricultural use. Right, it's a forest.
Oh, well, I guess, actually, when you put it that way, so the bylaw, this is what got me, the bylaw doesn't get into the history of agricultural land the way the Act does, right? I mean, the Act says that this is all, the exemption is all for pre-existing,
It's just,
land that was
I
under-
think our definition says lands in agricultural use.
and we did it differently.
Well, this is the regulations, I'm
But
not
the
sure if it's in
wetlands-
here.
What does it just kind of go back?
Oh,
to-
it's right here. Lands lawfully in agriculture at the time the work takes place. So again, it's related to the work, right? So if the work takes place, so the work would be the building of the shed, the altering the wetland, creating the new paddock. Was there another thing? No, I guess it's the relocation of the shed, right? So if you were to say, let's not use her site.
Okay.
Let's use,
That other case, the Wilder? No?
well, that was never an agricultural use. So
Well,
we have,
apparently this one
you'd have,
wasn't either.
okay, so so under the bylaw, if you say lands are not in agricultural use under the bylaw, so lands lawfully in agricultural use at the time the work takes place. So it's not saying that, it's related to the work. In both cases, it's always related to the work and the where the work is being done in the land. So if you are to do something within a resource area, right, so that's the reason that they're coming, right? They're doing something in a resource area. Is that land in agricultural use? So I was using the new paddock as saying, the new paddock is forest adjacent to the house and adjacent to the yard and adjacent to an existing paddock, but it's not land that's right now actively in agricultural use.
Well, certainly wasn't agricultural use by the Wetland Protection Act's definition.
No, under the bylaw, is the forest where the new paddock's proposed in
It wasn't-
agricultural use?
Was it forest?
Well, you guys didn't say
Forest.
this.
Yeah.
didn't you?
No.
It was
it's
tree.
pretty much-
Where's
Mhm.
the new one that she
Forest,
wants to
yeah.
install? Nothing's
Oh,
there
the
right
new,
now.
I'm sorry, I
It's
thought
just
you were talking
woods.
about the one where the shed is. The other one,
I was trying to distinguish the
No, I
difference as
understand.
far as the
Right.
bylaw, lands lawfully
Yes,
in
yes, yes, okay.
agricultural
So
use.
yeah, I would say no on that one.
Okay, so if that land is not lawfully in agricultural use
Right.
now, then would you be able to say you could issue a negative determination under the bylaw?
For that portion, no.
Okay, so
No.
that's all I was trying to say, is that
And-
you might need to distinguish the different
Yes,
activities. Okay.
I think we should.
Okay.
And I believe the way it was explained to me, and I think one of the workshops, that the whole purpose of the agricultural use exemption is that if somebody, and a lot of wetland is good for growing stuff, adjacent to streams and rivers. And if someone has been doing that, along comes a Wetland Protection Act, you're not going to throw somebody out of what
Exactly.
they've already been doing.
That's the purpose of the exemption,
Right.
sort of.
But you
So-
can't just start planting corn next to a
Exactly.
stream and
So
say it's an
that was
agricultural
why
activity.
at the meeting, I tried to focus on that area first, because that area was clearer to me than the other ones.
Sure,
The other
the forested one now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But it was
I didn't-
hard to get the information because she at the time, didn't know where she was going to create the paddock.
Right.
So if we could for a second go back to that one, where it sounds like we're all clearer that that's not land and agriculture use, but they're proposing to alter approximately 3,000 square feet of adjacent upland resource area and/or buffer zone, are there any questions related to that that we didn't feel that we got answered? And I think that's what that would be a good way to move this along, right? Is there anything else that we felt like we didn't get answered? So the one thing is again, and you mentioned it in your just opening remarks, is that you probably still need to find out from the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. But that again, that would be something, if you file a notice of intent to do that work, then you would also be filing with the Heritage Program. It could meet an exemption, I don't know, But
I think we should also point out too, and I don't think this has been made clear to her, nor that Nikki has made the point clear, that if we fail to find the negative determination based on agricultural use, that is not the same thing as telling her that she can't do it. That's saying she needs to file a notice of intent, which we would then consider as a notice of intent. That's all.
So
not agreeing that it's an agricultural use means at this point.
The only question I had outstanding still on the new paddock was whether there were any other alternatives than putting that paddock within the buffer zone and the aura. Because when I look at the maps, and again, I wasn't on that side of the property, but it looks, when you look at the aerial photograph, it looks like there's another area that's a kind of an open pasture area, but I don't know if that's on her lot. And then there's more, but then the map doesn't show you. I was able to look at it online, but so this is where the paddock's being proposed, somewhere in this vicinity going towards the house, right? But so is there area that's outside of the buffer zone?
That was steep and rocky there. That was
Extremely
when we saw that.
So, this is not steep and rocky? I haven't been there, so
Well,
I don't
maybe
know
not
the
as steep. It
differences.
looked like it was.
Or if it's, further away. If this is 50, this is 58 feet. I can't remember the difference. No, this is 58. This is 50 feet.
This whole thing's 500.
And so is there a different shape or a different way that this can come out that's, again, outside? So my question is was there sufficient exploration of alternatives to putting it in there?
This, when I wrote up what I wrote up, I wasn't even thinking of this new proposal because I can't even see how.
Yes, but it's in your application, so you have to.
So it's in the new one now?
Yes.
It's in the new one.
This is what they're proposing, proposed location
To
of paddock
me,
fence.
that's saying, now I want 2 paddocks.
Yeah,
because this is still going to
my
be.
question. Should that be 2 separate RDAs? Because
Well, it's not because they filed one, so you have to
Right.
sort of answer the question because it's just in one.
Right.
So you're going to have to separate. It's messy, right? So because it's not separated out that way.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's my question, all right, and I don't know if anybody else has any related to this proposed paddock. I just thought this one was easier because, again, it's an area that's clearly not part of the agricultural use now, and hasn't been within the last 5 years. And so if you were going to put in a new paddock somewhere on this property, 11-acre property, does it have to be within the 100-foot buffer zone? Is there any place, because that's under our bylaw, that's what we look for.
How far away is that?
50 feet. So I guess I don't know, there's not enough information for me really to say the topography's that different, because I can't tell it on here.
Is
It's
there
all sort
anywhere
of
in
the
the
same.
property that's 100 feet or more?
It's 100 feet right here,
Oh, okay.
and more.
of this piece here, you're saying?
Yeah, here's the pond. and
Oh,
here's
right,
the
right, right,
vegetated
right,
wetland,
right, the pond.
And then there's 50 feet
Right.
where they're proposing to put the new fence.
Right.
And so my question is just, is there any other place, here or wherever, that it doesn't have to be?
Feet and stretched it
There
back or
isn't.
something.
Right.
There isn't.
Because, we talked a little bit, it's not directly next to the barn, it's not directly next to these paddocks, it's not, so in terms of proximity for management and use, it's not any close, if you move it up through here,
But the question is that practical? Is that rocky forest and is?
I don't know, there's not enough information
I was
for
just
me,
saying,
I wasn't there.
we can ask them the question, right?
That should be submitted, but
wasn't
I can
insisting
see
you get an answer.
No,
is
but
the terrain.
for questions to
So
ask
this
them,
is Mass
we can ask them the
GIS.
question if they can move
I
it.
can see here, this
Let them come
terrain.
up with
Yeah,
that.
but is it that different
I will,
here?
with you, yeah.
Between this contour and this contour?
This is all hilly
Yeah.
down.
And is this flat?
Flatter.
Flatter.
Mm.
So if it's flatter, is there any other place? No, this is the lot line, so then I couldn't tell, this might not be on that lot. Or someplace other over here, it's outside of the buffer zone.
So in
If this is, why isn't this is flat here, why isn't something else?
She was saying that this was really rocky and would be damaging to their feet.
So again, I don't have the information. My question is really on the alternative analysis. I just felt like, but I don't know if there's any other questions. If you're not, then I would just leave that as a question for them.
Yeah, so it's a-
related to that, in the RDA, or actually in Mickey's letter, he said that the farm pond is not large enough to be a pond as defined by the WPA regulations.
But it is under the wetlands bylaw, which is the alternative analysis is also required under that.
Because I looked it up and it does fall.
Well, I guess I would go back. They said it's not, but they also didn't say how big it is.
Right, but doesn't any body of water, I looked up the definition on section 10.04, the definitions of agricultural use, farm ponds qualify. And if it's not a farm pond, it's certainly a managed body. And also, according to this Mass GIS, this is a shallow marsh meadow.
Around it?
Yeah, in that area, if you look at these maps. So that just seems like it falls under the jurisdiction. So,
So you're saying if you do think it falls under the Wetlands Protection Act?
yeah.
Okay. So so one other question might be, what is the size of the pond, right?
Yeah.
And since, what was that map on? And since it's shown
It's on the Mass GIS map.
on Mass GIS to be a, what, shallow marsh?
Shallow marsh meadow.
Marsh, meadow.
Or
Why
fen.
is it not jurisdictional?
Yeah. And under 310 CMR 10.55, bordering vegetative wetlands, marshes are a part of the act. Presence of water.
So I just wonder if maybe it was a marsh and then it was a pond created out of the marsh at some point, maybe. I don't know. But, so, all right, so there's some other questions related to that.
So I know Mickey wanted to know, I don't know if you might already have written this in there, how important we thought the shed was, the impact of the shed versus the condition of the street. We need to address that in there because he was asking specifically about that.
At the last meeting he did?
Yeah. His impression from the one prior was that we thought the shed was the more important thing. I specifically remember saying, we're really concerned about the condition of the street.
So I'm just going to
Not
go,
the shed per
I'm going to
se.
go back again to what they filed.
Okay.
Okay, so what they filed was for the new paddock, and they filed to relocate the shed. And that's all. That's
Okay.
all that's in the application. So another thing that I felt like we didn't get to at the last meeting was, how is the shed relocated? Like, how do you go about that? Like, is it moved on a skidder? Is it moved across the stream? Is it done in
Add to the
frozen
list of
condition?
things we
Okay,
need.
so, and is it dismantled?
I guess the question would be, if they move the shed, what would the intent of that turnout be in their mind? I mean, would it still have the same usage? Just clarification on
The
that.
turnout, you mean, or the paddock?
The paddock.
The paddock.
You mean the shed?
That currently has the shed now. If they move that shed,
Yeah.
what's the use of that land with the stream going through it?
Oh, I
don't know
think
if
she
there was-
wanted to be able to just let the horses go around there for exercise.
So same number of horses?
Well, that was what was a little bit uncomfortable. She said it would probably be less because then she would have more activity going on in that new paddock,
Right,
you know, but we didn't really have any,
yeah.
you know, and we also, at that point, she wasn't amenable to fencing off the street, so it didn't
Right,
seem like that would
we
be
didn't
any
get that
benefit.
clarification.
Yeah.
And is there a way to get the horses across the stream?
Why couldn't she have a bridge? I mean,
Yeah, so there was a document that I think we were looking at,
yeah.
revegetated buffer strips,
Yep.
and the plans are out there, the information's out there.
I sent all of it to Jennifer.
Okay.
So it's Mass DEP, right?
Yeah.
Which one is, what's the name of that
This
one?
one is vegetated buffer strips.
Yeah, I sent her
Slow
that.
flow, and it
What's
has a
the,
little,
What's the title on the front page? What's the whole document? I mean, on the very,
I don't, oh, I got it.
oh, it's not,
Yeah.
No, that's part of the.
Yeah, that's part of the whole-
that's
yeah,
her packet.
no,
Okay.
that's
And that's just all my stuff gathered
oh,
together.
I see.
all the good stuff.
But if you go 2 pages, there's a image of how to get the horses across,
Oh, nice.
and that kind of information would be all.
So
Yeah.
related to the shed and the relocated shed, so if you go back to your plan that shows the location that's being proposed, and it's 58 feet. Again, I go back to the alternative analysis, and is that
Feet, where would we put
the relocated shed,
58 feet from the street?
yes. Is there another location within the paddock area or within the riding ring area that would be further away from the wetland? I guess, you know, if you go to this corner, it looks like it's a little further. You know, so I'm just, again, have we explored all the alternatives? I'm not sure why that spot.
Can I see the picture, Kristen? Yeah, no. Well, it
Well,
looks
it's
like
within
there's
the
some
100.
trees there.
So it's not here, but it's here.
I can't tell that.
Oh, from the stream?
Yeah.
That's when you're-
Again, I'm asking the
I
question.
see.
I'm not
Okay.
presuming that it's, there is another spot. I'm just,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Davis back there, and then there was like a little area.
Janet,
where some-
Carol, you're proposing it maybe a little further north, is that?
oh, I'm not proposing anything. I'm just saying,
Is there another spot?
is there an
that's
alternative?
further
It
away?
looks, when I measured it, it looks like the corner that's below where it's being proposed is a little bit
Oh, I
further
see.
away.
I see over here.
You know, so I'm just, I don't know why, if, you know, we're trying to keep as much away from the wetlands, you know, why, if there isn't another spot.
Even so, though, I don't, you know.
I mean, it
don't know
may
if
not
that's
be
gonna
that much, I don't
It's not
know.
going to matter much, because it's the horse activity in that whole paddock that has the real impact, I think, on the
And we're
street.
talking about the shed and the new,
Yes,
the other
exactly,
paddock.
but it's still, there's going to be horse activity in there, and, I don't know, that seems to have the bigger impact than just the shed itself. Again, the shed per se, you know, what are we talking about, roof runoff from that?
Well, you're talking about congregating, right? I mean,
Well,
so.
yeah, but I don't think they're going to stay right near, well, I guess if they see them.
Yeah.
I see them walking all around the whole paddock, regardless of where the shed is, the horses are kind of all over.
Right, but they will congregate more at the shed because they'll probably have hay in it and
Yeah.
everything else. I mean, it may not, it's just, again, it's the alternative analysis part is,
I don't know enough about how they behave. But
Yeah.
do you do stuff with them somewhere else and then put them back in the shed to lock them up? Or,
well, my understanding
shed
from what
there
she
for them
said,
to walk
but I
in
could
and
be
out
wrong,
of
is that,
the
you know, it's for
place?
inclement weather, you know, so it's,
Yeah,
you know,
some-
when it's starting to rain or during the winter, she wanted it particularly, you know.
yeah, but can the horses go in and out of the shed and tromp around the general
I don't
vicinity of
know,
the
I think
shed
she had
as
doors
they
on
go?
well, what's the picture in
I
your
thought it was
application?
open.
There's a picture in your application?
Yeah, yeah, just wide open, yeah.
I thought it was wide open. Yeah,
Okay,
it's wide open.
yeah, so then I guess.
So
we
it's a
can carve
carport
out.
for horses.
Yeah,
What's that?
It's
carport.
a carport for horses.
Yeah.
All right, so did anyone have any other questions? How's your timing us?
Um,
Well, it's 9 o'clock,
It's
we're
9
15
o'clock.
minutes over.
Question about the revegetation, should there be some sort of a plan? if
Well,
that's
so
the way-
that was one of the things that I had on my list, that fencing along either side of stream to keep the horses out of it, and then they only cross it. She has a bridge someplace.
Right.
That's the only place where
Oh,
they,
but Bill,
And not
Susan-
revegetated?
and no, definitely,
Okay.
fence it up and revegetate it.
Right,
sure.
right.
Did you
But then
say
there
that?
sh- But there should be a revegetation
Yeah,
plan.
well, allow stream to revegetate by fencing it up from the horses and creating it, so
So you would just allow it, it would,
she'd have to
Plant it.
I guess.
okay. So
Okay.
it's more than just
So,
allowing.
Yeah, right.
so it sounds like you would like to submit your comments, and then we have some additional questions,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Sounds like that's where we're at.
So this is-
Does anyone have any other questions that you want to add to the list?
So I can submit these
So-
just to them, is that how that?
Well, I think she should send it to me, and I'll put together the
Alright.
questions that we talked about tonight as well. So, how will the shed be moved to the proposed location? Can it be dismantled, rebuilt? What other alternatives were considered for the location? What other alternatives were considered for the new paddock? How can the property be improved to protect the wetland resource areas?
So now, just to clarify, these are all the things we know in order to make a determination one way or the other on the request for determination, right? We're not at the notice stage.
No, we're not. Well,
So
you're
this is
going to
just-
have to make a determination whether you can issue a negative determination or whether you're going to issue a positive,
Right.
either at the next meeting or,
Right.
beyond.
Sounds to me like our questions would relate to forming an order of conditions. and that we
Yeah,
are
that's what it's more
ready-
sounding like.
That we had.
Well,
had
we
come to
continued it for the point of
conclusion that it would
asking
be a
some
positive
further
determination.
questions,
Okay.
because we didn't talk about the relocation of the shed at all,
Okay.
right? So
So then we
those,
get that information and we make the determination one way or the other.
yeah, so do you not want to submit your comments then? You just want to submit the questions?
Well, why wouldn't I? Is there anything, why wouldn't I want to see it?
It's-
I'm just asking you.
Numerous
I'm
reasons.
confused with what you're trying to do. The point of tonight was to
I'm confused.
put questions together to give to them. So we've had a bunch of questions, I'm just asking, do you
Okay.
want your comments to be
I think I do,
submitted?
because I want them to understand some
Okay.
of these.
So, Janet, is that your collective thoughts of what we all said, what we think we
Well,
understand?
this was just what I thought. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I agree with most of it.
I didn't
A few
know,
modifications.
yeah, I didn't know what people thought because we didn't really get a chance to say what we thought at the last meeting.
Well, and you're not really saying what you're thinking at this point completely either, because you're really not deliberating on the whole thing. You're really just trying to figure out if you have other questions.
And getting questions out.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's accomplished.
So I would just leave it that these are your comments.
Okay.
And not try to be all-inclusive of everyone's, because that's something that will have to be decided when you vote to issue your determination. And then we'll send the additional questions along.
Okay.
Okay, so if you can email me that.
I would.
Okay.
After 9.
All right, and we had given ourselves extra because we did the administrative stuff. But we didn't do the Century Mill, so we're actually, we're still behind, but I can do that quickly
Another 10 minutes.
if you're ready to move on to that.
I think so. We're ready to move on? Excuse me. Okay, Century Mills.
Okay, so you're going to recuse yourself for a moment then?
Do I have to leave or should I?
Yes. I give that back to Liz, and then I'll take my determination.
I suppose you could sit on the audience as a resident.
They recommend you not.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh.
it's recommended that you don't, and since she's been leaving, it's better that we are consistent. Okay. Yeah, don't go far. It won't take too long. So, this is really just to give you an update on the compliance with the enforcement order. They have now, and I can't remember actually at the last meeting, but they've created the stream. Did I report that? Maybe at our working group meeting, but not at the regular meeting. So they've created the stream. They took out the row of hay bales at the top of where the new road was going through. And today, Jim and I attended the site visit and agreed that the next row of hay bales and siltation fence back can be removed because the flow is still flowing, but it's lightened to some degree. And, they also put jute netting and in the material that was the first 25 feet is sort of the aura back along the channel edges and have got that all tamped down with that jute netting. And
So it really looks like a stream now, not a
yes,
road.
yeah. And I have some photographs I can pass.
You know, I noticed, I didn't see a photograph of that road being cut out, so if you have it, I didn't
Yeah.
see it attached. I saw those pictures, which I don't think show the street
I'll
unless.
show you a picture from today. Oh, I don't think I took, did I take one there? I'm not sure if I did, shoot. No, wait. Oh, yeah, right there.
That's it?
Is that the same?
So where's
sort of
the road?
It's okay.
So the road is sort of down in here. So,
Oh, that's upstream.
And it goes down.
yes.
That's going down.
Wait a
and then
second,
the
yeah,
road.
because I'm standing where the hay bales still are and looking at what's been kind of, this is the natural part going through the first restoration order. There was
It's
another-
flowing that way.
And it's flowing this way.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't have on this one a good picture. Let me go back to other moments, maybe there's a better one.
Just curious to see the road.
Makes so much more sense, right?
Yeah.
You know
I
what,
was like,
he
that's not it.
sent me, did I?
That's not the road.
All right, let's see, let me see if I can find that.
It's quite a bit of water though, more than when we were there.
It's the one in the green.
Yeah.
It's raining a lot.
Flow. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Did they move the piles of rocks, like that Andy said he was going to?
Yeah.
Before they, okay.
Yeah, there are no rocks blocking anything. There were, as Carol said, there were hay bales at the top. And when there was a lot of water up there, it would have been like opening up a dam if we moved those hay bales. Now it's gone down, so it would just be letting the stream flow.
So are they gonna need to go over that crossing?
No.
No? And they
No,
can't?
down below them, right, and there are also snow fences up on either side of the road, letting any vehicles.
Was it like a big backhoe that just took the road, like carved a big ditch out of it pretty much?
Probably. I don't know.
Yes.
This one, okay.
Pretty much. But so, I'm not finding good pictures, but as you come down this, the stream, as it's crossed the road, there was a set of hay bales on the downstream side of the
Yeah.
road, and that's collected a little bit of sediment. Actually, according to Fred Kuhn, who's been doing a lot of the work on it, it's collected a good amount of sediment. And so we decided that we'd have him try to let the stream flow around the edge of the hay bale while he tries to dig out some of that sediment. And they're going to do that manually. And then there's still another set of hay bales, another check sort of dam down below that, and that had a little bit of sediment, but probably more just surface stuff. So they're going to scrape and clean that off, and then it will be all completely
What's the
open.
timeframe for doing that?
Well, you know, he said he could do it this afternoon, but then we went to look at the detention basin that's up at the top of when you cross over Road C, so the big crossing, and then they've built this detention basin, so there's not very much freeboard left in here, and they haven't built the emergency spillway. And so the resource area is really down below on this side, and so we all felt as though that was a little bit more of a priority right now. Like the stream has been open, there's not a lot of migratory activity probably happening, so yes, we want to get the hay bales out and get the silt fence out, but this seemed like a little bit more of a, you know, you better take care of this
Yeah.
slope on this, because this slope looks like that, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it
So
could have just
that's after you
washed
go
out.
over the culvert?
Yes. Yeah. So this is still not, and it's not all adjacent upland resource area, but a good amount. Like this colored part, where this is topsoil, this is probably all within the resource area, and then as it goes back, it becomes further away from the wetland. So we also said that the stormwater pollution prevention plan requires, you know, things to be stabilized within a certain period of time, and that this has been exposed now and they haven't been working on it. So when you're not working on it, you need to stabilize it. So anyway, as far as the enforcement order goes, you know, I did issue the fine, and I haven't had any response other than it's been received.
You got the card back?
Yeah, I believe I did. I just got cards today,
Okay.
and I haven't matched them to the one I sent out yet, but I have got 2 from them today, so I'm believing one of them was the fine. So I think that they've complied, except that, because we've kind of asked them to wait, like we asked them to wait to take out the hay bales, and we've kind of said, this is another priority, so I think that they would have done everything last meeting, the last site visit, Andy was there, and he was like willing to take the hay bales out then. Our town engineer recommended that we wait because of the flow. So we did, and also Jim had brought up, he thought it would be better to have the jute netting on the slopes, so they did that work. So I think everything that they're doing has been in compliance, and it's not, their delay at this point, other than that there's some other priorities that need to be done. On the other hand, if they had more people on the site, they could probably get both of them done at the same time. So I don't know, there's that factor too. Today there was like almost nobody on the site, and we sort of talked about that.
Well, and for the detention basin too, I remember it in one of these weekly meetings, the statement was made that they had provision for an outlet for that basin, and they didn't think they needed one, the protection being essentially statistical.
Mm-hmm.
That normally you don't get this much rain to be an issue. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
It's rained that much.
What does the plan show?
Well, it has an outlet and it has an emergency spillway.
The plans show that.
Yeah.
That's not what they built.
They haven't built it yet.
But that was approved by the engineering inspector, who said that they should be able to get away without it based on the statistical amount of rain.
Like a 100-year flood.
Yeah, something like that. And so we got more rain than they expected,
There's more coming.
and there's more.
Yeah.
coming,
So what we said is that the engineer needs to provide a plan for that, how they're going to handle dewatering that sediment basin. Really, it's more of a sediment basin now than it is a detention basin. And in fact, Erica sent a follow-up from the site visit today, saying that it's imperative that the dewatering plan for the detention basin 9C be submitted to the town as soon as possible. It was noted in the field today that the basin had very little freeboard. In accordance with Section 5 of the NPDS Constructional General Permit, corrective action shall be taken within 7 days of observing noncompliance. Many of these issues outlined above have been discussed at previous construction meetings and have yet to be corrected.
Yeah, but nobody gave it a date. Just said it's
Well,
not
she's
possible.
telling him now that it was supposed to be done 7 days after observing compliance. It's his plan. So technically, he should know, right, that within 7 days of noticing that it needs to have attention. And he brought it to our attention, too. It's not like he was hiding it. He said, I need to figure out a way to dewater this. I'm thinking of putting it in the storm scepter. And I said, I don't think that's the best way to do it, because the storm scepter is a proprietary device, and I'm not sure it's built to take a dewatering of a basin that's basically a sediment basin. So, I thought if you're going to propose that, then you should talk to the manufacturing company and get, make sure that that's the case. So then, they said, well, maybe we could put it in a catch basin. And so we said, you need to have your engineer come up with a plan. I told them that I'd been on this great workshop in Marlboro, and they had essentially almost like a dumpster with baffles in it that have this flocculant that's sprayed on these baffles. And in their case, coming off of this site, they were pumping up from a sediment/detention basin into this container, and then they had a train, and the train was that then they had it flow out of that, and they had these baffle logs, and the logs had flocculant on it. So the flocculant takes the sediment particles out of the those fines that get into these with the silt, and so it traps all that, so that then by the time the water is getting discharged, it's really pretty clean. So I said, I saw that. I thought it was great. Look into it. Have your engineer come up with something. But, I wasn't supportive of putting it in the storm scepter, which then goes directly into the wetland, because I didn't know if it was going to handle it very well.
Right, that's designed to handle runoff from a road.
Right. Yeah. Not being pumped into.
Right.
So anyway, that's where that is.
So is the planning board involved in tracking?
Yes, this was from the planner.
Right.
They're the ones who have
That's
to-
coming, basically she's representing the planning board there.
Yes.
It's their weekly meeting that we go to.
Okay. We'll see.
And she includes our issues on the agenda, so. So, you know, I guess just to wrap it up, I am concerned that there's not much happening with staff there today, where there should have been things that, you know, you'd think that they're continuing to do things that would be, you know, protect.
I mean, in the holidays, maybe it's just going to slow down.
Well, it probably is, but, you know, the weather's not going to, right?
Right.
So anyway, we told Fred that today we thought he needed to get the jute netting on that slope. And that then, you know, then his next thing was, and then Erica said immediately they should be getting us the plan to dewater that basin. And then they'd go back to the Road A crossing.
What the holiday is definitely going to slow down is our monitoring of it.
Right.
So what do we think that the total cost is for the fine?
Well, I guess I'm saying that as of today, I feel like they've complied with the enforcement order, even though they didn't comply the way that enforcement order said.
Right.
So it
And
would
they're
be, I'd have to go
enforceable.
back and see the date that we issued it, December 3rd to today.
Okay, so it's official.
I mean, I'm sure he'll argue it otherwise, that they put in the stream and whatever, but
Okay, that's fine.
we saw it today.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, so I'll go look for Jan.
What left?
Best part of walking around there today was that a lot of the mud was frozen.
It is interesting how that basin is like almost at the brim. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's been raining all that much. I think a few years ago when we had all that flooding, that would definitely be running over.
Oh, the
edge of
great
that.
Mother's Day storm,
Yeah.
when we could hear the hissing of the water coming up through the basement floor.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
Yes, tomorrow's going to be a lot of rain.
that much?
Seems like quite a bit. Hopefully it won't be low.
Right there.
See,
Picture or...
There's one here.
It doesn't help. It doesn't
Yes.
help.
Sorry about that, guys.
Is it blowing cold
Right
on you?
close.
No,
No, the clock. We're just
Oh, the
thinking
clock.
maybe a clock.
Clock somewhere visible.
Okay.
So, at this, did
Yeah, I'll
you want to
do-
give an update on Petro, or was that?
No, I didn't asterisk it. Let's, there is
Okay.
something, but if only if we have time.
And we finished the one thing under administrative is I wanted to talk about getting permission for leading the walks.
Oh, yeah.
On Bower Springs and Glen Hill. So Carol alerted me to the fact that there actually is, where is it now? I think I brought it. Rules and regulations on conservation land. We actually had something, and it pretty much says that, I can't find it, anything out of the ordinary use, here it is, needs written permission from the Conservation Commission, so I would like to get written permission.
So you get two walks, January
4th and at Bower Springs, and January 18th at Von Hills.
and they're both Sundays, I think, right? Yeah, I think they're both Sundays. So, does anybody have any objections to, I mean, there's no other conflict at this point with those walks.
No big campfires out.
I guess,
Just to walk.
do you have a limit on how many people?
Yeah, 8 participants, and then in addition to me, it's the leader.
So, where are you gonna park on Von Hill?
I am gonna try to use the regular lot that's on,
Moen, the
at the
lower part of Von
property.
Hill?
Yeah, I may go the day before and sand it if it's icy, because there's a little bit of hill going down, and I don't like using it in the winter myself. I'm afraid my car won't get back up.
So, I mean, I don't think that, that there shouldn't be a problem with parking then. I forget, did you have snowshoes if it was that kind of thing, or is it mostly just?
Well, I mean,
Did
yeah,
you say in your app?
I always tell people to, you know, bring them in the car in case we need them.
Okay. So you would either ski, snowshoe, or walk, or just, no,
Just
it's only
either
snowshoe or walk? Okay. So are you okay with me to send her?
Yeah, as I said,
Okay.
do we need to make a motion to give her permission?
Yeah, probably.
One of your guys.
I make a motion that we give permission for Jennifer Stewart to lead 2 separate walks in the Bond Hill Conservation Area. Bower Springs, I'm sorry, on the dates that she has previously provided.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I looked at snowshoes once, they're not cheap.
No, they're not. But if you use them a lot, it's not a lot. It's worth it. Last winter in particular, we had a lot of deep snow.
Ski swap places we found for our kids. And Free Cycle also, we found them on Free Cycle.
I should look at
For
Lady
kids
Finn
and
sports.
stuff, yeah.
Okay, ready to move to land protection?
Land protection, rising tides conservation restriction. This was for Lot 3, West Berlin Road cases.
Well, yeah, so he doesn't own it yet, but the CR has been drafted under Gentleman or whatever their name of their company is. But it was drafted by I think by the engineering firm that did the work, did the plans. At least that's who sent it to me. I don't know if they had an attorney do it or not. Did anybody take a look at it?
Yeah. It's tough to know what was standard or not. I was trying to look at the extrication clauses. Extrication, the way they can do it.
The exceptions?
Exceptions, thank you.
Well, I had a couple comments when I read through it, like related to the exceptions, and I didn't do the site visits, so maybe you would know that better. And actually, in the prohibited acts and uses, in the first one, where it's constructing, placing, or allowing to remain any temporary or permanent building, tennis court, landing strip, mobile home, swimming pool, asphalt, concrete pavement, etc. In some other ones, I've seen storage tank, so I added that one in. And then under reserved rights, in the first one, recreational activities, they had fishing, boating, hiking, horseback riding, cross-country skiing, and other non-motorized outdoor recreational activities that do not materially alter the landscape, do not degrade environmental quality, and do not involve more than de minimis use for commercial recreational activities. I was going to suggest we take out boating, because, there's a teeny portion of stream, I think, in the very back. And then I also was going to suggest we take out commercial, because I don't think we're looking for commercial recreational activity on that property, right? You walked it, right?
I don't think I...
Yeah, you did. This is what we just talked about, Lot 3,
Lot
West
3?
Berlin Road.
Oh.
Right across from Shatner.
You did the wetland delineation.
Yeah, I don't remember the part
Yeah,
we set up for
remember it's
conservation.
across the street from the farm?
I guess I remember talking about it
And
generally.
the neighbor had been taking down trees.
Oh,
right
yeah.
up the
Right,
the backyard.
right.
That one.
Boat, you couldn't get a boat in there on a trail and
But
never
I don't
mind
know
in
where, I
water.
remember where the CR was.
The plan was, I attached the plan with your copy, but I'll pass that around. It's pretty much everything back from,
That's where
Yeah,
you're
Well,
looking
did
at.
they do the structure?
Yeah.
you can see it right here. It's
Yeah.
pretty much everything behind this line back. So it's, I don't think there was acreage on there, but no, I can't. Or there was acreage in there.
1.8 acres is the whole thing? Or
No, it's more than that.
this, Lot 2, I'm sorry, Lot 2 is... Lot 3 is 2.
So it's about 4.8.
5.5.
What did you get? 5?
5.5.
5.5, okay. Well, the total of the lot is 5.5, but the conservation restriction area is about 4.8.
Anybody else want to say?
They were gonna
Pace will do that.
Signage.
Yeah.
Part is the conservation restriction.
So the only other comments that I had are just a couple of formatting things from newer ways that they're looking for, just adding some stuff in the front.
No, I think it's the whole thing.
And then, so we also, or they've also would like us to vote to issue the municipal certification. So when you do a conservation restriction, you have to determine that there's a public benefit. And so, I'm sorry I didn't get to that to you before, but I just got it drafted today. But I took pretty much what they had in their purposes, the purpose of the restriction. I modified it a little bit because, I should have modified it in here, actually, too. I'll have to go back and do that. So, under open space protection, the protection of the premises contributes to the protection of the scenic and natural character of the land within West Berlin Road area. Directly abutting this parcel is farmland, permanently protected by the town with an agricultural preservation restriction. The protection of the premises will enhance the open space values of these lands. That's one public benefit. Protection of wildlife habitat. The premises are intended to protect any wildlife habitat on the restricted area and adjacent lands. The premises are located within priority habitats and estimated habitats of rare species and rare wildlife established by the Mass Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program in 2008. And the third thing is furtherance of government policy. Protection of the premises furthers the town of Bolton's 2005 Open Space and Recreation Plan, the preservation of rural character of Bolton, Goal 1, and the protection of natural resource and wildlife habitats, Goal 4. So if you are, unless you have other ones to add, I would recommend you vote to issue the municipal certification.
What's it called, issue the
Municipal certification?
Okay, I make a motion that we issue the municipal certification on the conservation restriction for Lot 3 on West Berlin.
Yes.
West Berlin Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so as you're signing that, I'll just say, so then the process is that the applicant or the owner will submit an application to Executive Office of Environmental Affairs with our revisions, the municipal certification, an application package that has, the plans and the USGS map and the orders of conditions and other things like that. And then they'll review it and see if they have any further modifications. And normally, if there's a legal issue, we would have town council take a look at it. It's fairly standard, this one, so unless when EOEA looks at it, they raise some legal issue, I would think it'll probably be fine. But, if you've looked at it and you feel like, we want to have council look at it, then we could do that too. And then once the final drafts kind of go back and forth, then, they would record it at the registry of deeds. And in our order, we required it to be recorded, I think, before occupancy.
Do the selectmen have to look at it?
The selectmen will have to sign the CR. We haven't signed the CR, all you're doing is voting on the municipal certification right now. So you haven't voted to accept the CR yet, we just made comments at this point.
So, I'm just curious, Mr. Pace is going to be developing that lot?
Yes.
So what is his connection again to Rising Tides?
Nothing, he's just buying it from them.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Can I just use it again?
Okay, sorry. Did we have more to say on the pipeline, or we already cover that?
I don't have.
Is there anything new? Okay.
Well, the only thing was, Liz and I were talking a little bit yesterday. Let me just make a note here. Make changes. That we should be looking at lands that are in the vicinity or similar, if we, to start to prepare ourselves if we have to negotiate, some mitigation, yeah. So I don't know how you want to do that. I don't know if Brian and Liz, at our working group, you guys said you might sort of take on the pipeline a little bit, or no, Karen and Brian, if you guys want to talk about it a little bit, work with me or look at plans, or if you want to do it as a group, then we can assign it a certain amount of time. at the next meeting.
No, I mean, I'm happy if we can come up with time between the three of us to sit down and go through it too.
Sure.
And then just report out to everybody else
Okay.
at the meeting.
It probably won't be at the next meeting.
I just had a brainstorm, just putting together something that you and I talked about earlier. These gifts, there was one of them that we talked about would only make sense if they were contiguous properties.
Mhm.
Maybe, well, can the mitigation be protecting these other lands? Like is that what, well, I don't know what is allowed for mitigation.
Well, I don't think you'd want to necessarily do that because we're not buying any of those, right? So you want it to be of equal value, both monetarily and, the town spent money on those, on the random
Oh,
roads.
I didn't mean the gift itself, but it would, if we accepted the gift, and remember we were talking, it would only make sense to accept one or more of these gifts if there was land around it that could be protected. Perhaps funding could be to protect those contiguous lands around it.
I guess,
Just a thought.
possibly, but I would hope that since those are mostly wetland, we wouldn't be looking at paying for that. Again, we would be saying there was a gift that's been offered for this 8 acres,
Would you want to donate more land?
Right.
Can you just
right.
change the subject?
Well, I was.
No, I was
I was
suggesting,
just,
yeah, how we could possibly, because we're
Yeah.
gonna have to talk about.
If they were talking about mitigation, protecting other lands, I was just thinking one possibility would be the mitigation could be to protect other lands around these potential gifts that we have, so it would make the gifts worthwhile to take, you know what I mean? But Carol says that, sorry, I forget which one is which. Is it the Paulson one that's near the Crim? Yeah. No, it's the Lamson gift that is that 8.1 acre one that has all wetland around it. And so what she said wouldn't make sense to purchase those, but to approach the owners and see if they want to donate the land.
Okay, so just not to
Yeah,
confuse
not
the
to
issue
confuse-
with this, let's
Sorry.
talk about that one under that subject maybe.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So then Brian and Karen and I will meet and look at some of the open space parcels. So maybe I'll just do like a doodle poll for us and see, because I'm not thinking it'll be before the next meeting in January. It'll probably be after that. So, ready to move to the next one?
Okay, so then we want to move on to then I guess the open space plan.
Right, so that was a different thing.
Review goals and objectives and maps.
Well, this is how we had left it from the last time, because that had been brought up as to how to start to do this. But since our working meeting, I guess what we said was that Liz was sort of interested in the open space and recreation plan. And so she met with me yesterday, and we talked about following up a little bit on the consulting costs, if we're going to try to do that, whether there's any grants available, and she's going to work a little bit more on that. So I think it doesn't make sense necessarily to spend the time, unless we want to spend some of the time doing it. But and I don't know, Liz, if you have an opinion about that, but when we talked about it yesterday, there's basically 6 goals. And for example, out of tonight's CR, we voted on that CR meeting 2 of those goals. So one thing that we had talked about in these prior years when we were trying to get the plan updated was, the goals still seem to be good goals. At least the titles of them, but underneath it, the bullets of how you're going to achieve those goals could be the same or they could be different. And like even in the subheading or the title, I guess one of the goals was the rural character. So one question is in 2014, do we still want to call it the rural character or do we call it the semi-rural character? So it may just be in updating that. There's some things like that. But that'd be stuff that, if you want to think about the open space plan, I would say that might be a good place to start looking at what the goals are.
So we talk about timelines, and so getting it done within which fiscal year, depending on funding, and I consultants to get some costs, starting that process, and then we talked about price for having one of the schools do it, and looking at all the whole variety of different ways to get it done.
Is there anything new on the possible student who would be writing a grant for, I mean, is there anything new on?
No, they have not contacted us.
Yeah, so I mean, that's still a possibility, trying to find private funding for that.
Yeah. And as I recall, I think you sent us something that said that, for like that landscape, what's it called, landscape school?
Conway.
Conway School of Landscape Design, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It would be several dollars, was it $6,000?
It's
Yeah,
$6,500.
yeah, 6,500, so that's on the lower end, and
Yeah.
so the other ones are professional services that have done them for many of the surrounding towns, and they run upwards to, getting a full plan is like 20.
Wow.
But that's starting from scratch,
Right.
but I think, we'd be looking at anywhere from 5 to 10, that's my guess.
Okay. Even
And
if
we
a
put 10 in the
professional did it?
budget.
Oh, we did. So even if a professional did it, you think because it's an update, it would be in the 5 to 10 range?
Yeah.
So maybe if Conway School of Design knew that it was just an update, they would be less.
No, they know it's an
Oh, they
update.
know it's an, okay.
So based on there being 6,500, professional probably be more,
Like 10,
thinking,
yeah.
okay, it might go up to 10.
But then we were talking about the advantages. I mean, so if you were to use the Conway School, they're limited to a semester, and they typically do this work in the spring semester, the winter spring. So you'd be talking about not starting it really until next January. So if we were to get the money in the budget, then we would really be ready to kind of almost go in July, because we'd have to just decide whether we wanted to hold public meetings at that point, or whether
Right.
we'd want to hold that off. But and also really it's a little bit of question as to whether we'd go out with getting to the request for proposal stuff that we'd have to do under the procurement laws, whether we'd do that after town meeting, like votes it, before July 1, or whether we'd wait till July 1, when everything's in place. So we'll have to, there's that to still figure out. But the first challenge is going to get the advisory committee approval and the selectmen approval, so we can get it to town meeting in May, and then getting town meeting approval.
And then there are grants that are available once you do have a plan done. So if we happen to have another piece of land that we want to acquire, then having
Right,
the
yeah,
plan
that's
done
right.
means that you're open to those grants.
If we were to
So-
get the student though to write the grant proposal, do we still need to bring this to town meeting if we get a grant to basically do the?
If you could get a grant to cover it.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to.
But I don't know, I mean, I am not aware of any grants that would do that. And then the other question is what about the timing of the grant? Okay, so sometimes you might get a grant that says, well, we do it every quarter, or we do it once a year. So, again,
Oh, yeah. no,
at this
I'll
point,
do that. But we haven't looked into any particular.
no, we've looked into them,
Oh,
we have not found one that was,
Oh,
that we
yeah,
would be
really?
able to. Well, we looked at the Division of Conservation and Recreation, which has grants for open space plans when you are acquiring a piece under the land grant program.
No, I meant for,
Private.
to pay somebody to actually do the open space plan.
Yes, I don't know where you'll find, I don't know any foundations or any other groups that
That would do.
fund, I don't know any of them.
I've
And-
started looking, I haven't seen any.
Well, I know when I looked into for our keeping track group, there were many different grant-making institutions, and some of them were fairly vague, and they would look at your proposal individually, and, nobody said, I cover keeping track work, or I cover open
Right.
space plan work in particular,
Right.
but you would go with
Right,
it.
and so all I'm saying is that those grants, again, if you find something you're going to apply for, some of them are quarterly, some of them are annual.
Yeah.
And so the question of, do we put it in the budget, because if
Oh, yeah, yeah.
if we need to prepare for it,
Mhm.
then we needed to move ahead. And so if before we go to town meeting in May, we find a grant, fine, but I'm not aware that we're going to get funded for one between now and then. We had thought Mazio might be able to do that. Is that the name of the, Promazio?
Promazzo.
Promazzo? That they might be able to work and do that work. I can't do that work right now to find that. Liz hasn't come across anything yet. We've put it out there.
Yeah.
There was one, remember, there was one town that said that they, may have had some grant money. Again, you could maybe get some grant money for mapping, maybe, we're not positive, you know, if you segregated it out a little bit, you know, could you get something that covers some of the work? But we'd have to figure that out between now and January 27th, in terms of at least saying what we've done when we go to the advisory meeting, and then between January 27th and town meeting. So, you know, we can continue to make that effort. I just don't, I'm not aware of anything, and I don't have the resources to spend time on that. Unless you want to tell me not to do anything else.
No.
No minutes.
We don't want to.
No site visits.
No.
You know, we don't have a grant person in town. You know, then we don't have, I mean, as a staff person.
The only other thing I wondered about was, and this is going back to things that we did when I was in college in city planning or systems engineering, is sometimes for a thesis project, a student needed a project to do, which, you know, if you can find someone at WPI or UMass to take this on as a project.
The thing is, it would be a huge project. You know, I think it's significantly bigger than either of the projects I did when I got my master's in conservation biology. It is, the open space plan is a big document. It's going to require, I mean, it is an update, so maybe, but I don't know. It's a big plan.
And
I did a plan, one of my projects was a plan on a 130-acre property, you know, just that property, the stewardship plan for that. This is a town, you know, a whole town-wide plan. It's a lot more
Now,
mapping.
one of the projects that we did was come up with a comprehensive plan for where all the buses went in Albany, because nobody knew. The bus company didn't have any routes. So people went out and they followed all the buses and wrote it all down. And it took a semester.
Yeah, I think this is more than a semester, unless somebody can really put it
Well,
full time.
the Conway School of Landscape Design say they do it in a semester. You know, and I haven't looked at their plans. They did send me a link to some, and I was trying to look at them when Liz and I were meeting, but I couldn't really focus on it then. So I don't know, you know, I can't say how it compared to a professional one or our plan as it exists today. So it's an option, but again, it's sort of a timing thing. You know, we still have to, you'd have to find someone, it'd have to be, you know, if presumably they would be doing this for September then, starting, or during the summer even, or?
I don't know, different schools have.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Different semesters.
And it's so I think one of the things is that it's not just like one component. It's not like it's just the mapping, right? It's that there's demographics, and there's, you know, there's the action plan of the goals and stuff, you know, which is more like focusing on all these different town boards and commissions and trying to how we're going to achieve certain things.
So the Conway thing, one of their projects was to do the Bower Springs Management Plan, which
Yes.
was far simpler than the open space plan.
Yeah.
Do they really understand when they say $6,500 that this would be a town-wide?
Well, that's what they said. I mean,
Would it be like
that's
a
what
team of students?
It sounded like it was, yes, it was more like a project with a group. I don't think it was
that's
just,
different than that.
yeah.
Bower Springs was 2 people, I think. Maybe this would be a big.
Well, let's see if I can find his
Well,
email.
65 was within the range that
Yeah.
I heard from the professionals.
What I could do is I can ask around
Sure.
contacts at WPI, maybe they'd have some ideas of who else could do
Sure.
it, if they don't have any.
What I got was, we put it out to conservation administrators, and we got a lot of information about how people have done it. There were some who used consultants, not that many. Most of them did it with volunteers and groups in town. And then the ones who had the consultants, we've got some of the names of those consultants. And then how they paid for it, most of them weren't clear. You know, some of them used CPA money, some of them weren't sure. So how they did it, again, was, let me just, I've got his email here.
CPA, community preservation,
I
not
really
certified
have that.
public.
No.
Community preservation, I'm sorry. So he said, we have done a number of open space and recreation plan draft updates over the years. The students, however, did not complete the ADA section, which is the American Disability section. These types of projects are typically done during our winter term, January through March. We asked $6,500 for reimbursement of project expenses. I said, when were you looking to have it done this academic year? We've tentatively agreed to do another one we'll know next week whether funding's available or has been approved for that project.
Well, I wonder if the next.
So I don't know how many
Is simply
people-
looking for grant-making institutions to see where we could apply for a grant. Is there a variety of
I'm
options
doing
for
some of that, you know, looking around, sort of, and then I think the list that Carol had, I think she talked about earlier, had a couple of towns that had found some private money. So they got called to their administrator, or, you know, making some calls, seeing who they used, or, there's got to be some funds out there, somebody,
Yeah.
some organization.
The Greater Worcester Land Trust is where we got money to do, we're keeping track. Then another one they gave that was, I don't know if they're still in existence, Sweetwater Trust.
Yeah.
They had grants.
I think they, oh, gosh, I can't remember.
Something happened with them.
Yeah. I can't say, I know, I remember them being very active for a long time, but I'm not sure anymore.
Sweetwater, I don't know.
No, I think they're in Mass.
Anyway, at the time, 10 years ago, they were funding a lot of conservation type projects.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Greater Worcester Community Foundation. That wasn't Greater Worcester, it was Greater Worcester Community Foundation.
Who listens to WCRB besides me?
What?
There's a classical radio station.
102.5.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, and
No, how to set a WICN?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's jazz.
Oh, but the reason why I bring it up is that every once in a while I'll put in a plug for some organization whose purpose is to create something more verdant life. I can't remember the name of the organization, but I'll have to keep listening to the
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
And if
But
whoever
that's
gets
not my
it first-
primary station.
Robert Wood Johnson.
Oh.
WUR is my primary.
That's mine.
It's not that until I can't remember what it is.
Okay. All right. So we move on to the land use?
Yeah, because we kind of talked about the land management already, so I think we're okay if we just want to finish up 10 minutes, a little bit about the gifts,
Okay.
even though they're not asterisked.
So
But I just want to find out, I didn't get your name, I know.
My name is Joe.
Joe, I got your name, Joe, because you called me, but I didn't get your.
Kathleen.
Okay. Oh, you're Kathleen, okay. Thanks, just for the minutes. So did you want to start on the?
Yeah, okay, so the Lamson Gifts is an 8.1 acre piece that's like right near 495, and it's got wetland all around it. And we were looking at a map this morning, I guess, and what's not clear, so it's near the border of Berlin, and it looks like there's a lot of undeveloped land right there, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is it could be the kernel of a lot of undeveloped land. A lot of it's wetland, and some of it's forested. But in order to accept this piece of land, it seems like it wouldn't make sense to do so unless we were going to try to, you know, expand it and make it, you know, bigger conservation.
Is this the one where we question how you even got into the center of it?
Yes. Well, I think it's one of the ones because it's landlocked.
It's west of 495.
Yes, yes.
South of 117.
Yeah?
Oh,
Yeah.
and let me also say, we also
Well,
looked at...
way south of 117.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down, it's up near Quaker Lane off Fry Road,
Yeah.
right?
I think we took a look at that.
We also looked at the open space plan where they, the old one, where they, you know, prioritized different pieces of land, and you could, it was 4 levels of priority, 1 through 4, and then no priority. This was actually a priority piece, priority 4, so it's the bottom of the priority, but it's not an, you know, an unprioritized one. So, you know, it was considered somewhat important. And there is potential if somebody had the time and wanted to work on this, you know, possibly talking to Berlin and seeing what's going on with all that undeveloped land that's just south of this parcel. So, you know, but again, if we don't have time for that, I don't know that it makes any sense to accept a gift.
Well, the other thing about accepting is, you know, we would want to have to walk it first. I mean, so that might be one thing that we want to just even
Just do it
say
anyway.
that when it's frozen, and but we'd have to get permission to go over another lot, I think, to get there. You know, so because obviously we don't want to accept it. Well, so frozen with no snow is sort of the conditions that we're looking at, which is kind of now, right?
Yeah.
So again, I think I just haven't really responded back to the initial inquiry came through Martha Remington, so it would be good to either tie it up and say, we're interested in getting there, but, we're interested in checking it out a little bit more, but we'd need to have access, and could you get access for us over a lot?
Yeah.
See if the owner knows the other people or whatever, if they could get some access.
Is the other lot developed? Or is it?
Do you remember?
The other lot being what?
In front of it?
I don't think there's anything developed all around it.
It looked like it was all wooded.
I can't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't think I brought that.
Yeah, I don't think anything was developed around it. Does anyone ever, desire the time to work on that area? Like I said, I don't know that it makes sense to pursue this at all if we don't have the time to.
So owning it has a certain maintenance to it?
Does it?
What's the maintenance if we own it?
So what is it?
We just own it, and given that it has no use, I mean, not that it has environmental use, but I mean, there's no one walking
Well,
on it.
I think without going to it, I wouldn't know, to be honest. And if you were to combine it with other parcels, then the question is, do you then have something more that you're interested in? I mean, so there's always a do nothing, and then there's always a, you don't want encroachments on it, so, you should monitor your property, and you don't want, if say there was, and I don't know that this would be the case, but say there was beaver activity, and it stemmed from our property, and it was causing flooding of somebody else's property. I mean, so there's lots of things that can come up. I don't know in this particular situation.
And do we have access to it? Like, if we were to buy it, would we have a way to get in there and check?
No, we wouldn't be buying it. She's looking to gift it to us.
Oh, it's a gift.
We would
Okay.
accept it,
Yes.
Yeah. Would we have a way in there?
Not that I can see.
Kayak.
So that would be a question. That
Well,
would be an issue
I
for
wonder
them.
if there's an existing easement somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't done anything more than just talk about it a couple of times and not get anywhere with it. So that was the reason to say.
So it doesn't sound like anybody feels like they have the time or the interest in exploring that and, seeing if that can be the kernel of a larger area of protected land.
Well, even if it wasn't part of a bigger area that's protected, is it still worth looking at because it's one piece that's basically a gift?
Well, for the reason, the downside of what Carol just said, that there's
But we don't.
monitoring it.
Right, but there's still a lot of unknowns, right?
There's still what?
I mean, we don't know, there's unknowns, like we don't know what the property looks like. Is there access, is there not access?
And the other thing is,
What would the cost to the town be to maintain it? Maybe it's very little, maybe it's significant, and then we wouldn't be interested, but I don't know if we know that.
I mean, my feeling is that since it's shown as a priority piece, we ought to explore it a little bit more.
and not having the time to go there for this particular composition of commission doesn't mean that the next group might not want to put something together,
Build on it, that's true.
which could still be us.
We all burn out.
So should we schedule a visit?
Well, why don't I get back to Martha Remington and say that there is some interest in knowing more about the parcel, and that if we could get access to it, if she can talk to the owner and see, if they've ever gone back there and how they get access, and if they have an in with the other person, that would, provide that access, or if there's easements, as you said, or whatever. And I'll just put it back to Martha then.
And then the Weatherby gift, that's on hold for a while?
Yeah, that one's on hold.
It's not, but it's not really a gift.
No, that one's
Sorry,
not a
Weatherby,
gift.
Right.
Yeah.
Offer to buy it,
Yeah, and so right now I'm just waiting to talk to Brandon. We haven't had a chance to see whether or not they're really interested in doing that right now. It's too late for a town meeting and everything at this point to try to pull something together, so you never want to rush that. But.
And the Paulson gift is the one near Cranberry Meadow.
Right, now,
Try to visit that in frozen conditions.
right, so now that might be one that we could actually get out to. And before, we had asked a neighbor if it was okay to go through their property, so, you know, we could try to set that up. Again, if the weather stays the way it is and there's not a lot of snow on the ground, I guess just, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go and look if there's much snow. I mean, if it's just a light snow, then, you know, it's
Right.
nothing's going to be buried, but. So I guess, but so in terms of timing, I'm not seeing anything before the next meeting. It would be sometime in January, so. So it was sort of like we were last winter, waiting to see what happens with the snow.
These have been on the agenda for a while.
Yeah. Well, because again, this one you could only get to during certain conditions, you know, and again, and it was brought up, you know, do we even want to, you know, so.
No, I'm giving us
Yeah.
all a pat on the back.
Oh, for making
get
some,
through it,
Yeah,
yeah.
we actually
Okay.
reached them.
Oh, that we got to them, yes.
Yeah, we've been on for a
Okay.
while.
So you have like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I could quickly just give you the update on DePietro then.
Okay.
If we can go back to that one. So I did walk the property with DEP. And, you know, they clearly agreed with Stowe's administrator and myself that there's a violation. And this is a guy, his name's Joe Bellino, and he was going to be bringing it back to his office to try to get support to go after a warrant to try to do something more, to get on the property to see more. You know, as all the leaves are down, you can definitely see a garage shed, one of those tarped kind of structures on the back side of the pond. And there was a piece of equipment, you know, so it's clear, I mean, it's clearly been cut, all the vegetation was cut. But whether there's ongoing activity beyond there, it's hard to say.
So how far in did you walk?
Oh, we didn't, we stood from the road.
Oh,
He doesn't have the right to go on the property either.
okay.
No.
He's working on getting that. That's
Yeah,
what the
he
warrant
was
would be.
looking to maybe try to get a warrant, that would be the only way.
Okay. So what's the time frame for that?
You know, he didn't tell me, to be honest.
Okay.
I kind of got the impression as we talked, the longer we talked, that he didn't seem as hopeful that he'll, you know, get the go-ahead to try to do it, but we'll have to keep the pressure on.
Okay.
And I say that only because some of the other violations that he talked about that they have,
Much more serious.
Much worse.
yeah, you know, complete relocation of streams and, you know.
They haven't responded to the letters.
They haven't responded to emails, letters, they know we were there, you know, they know we have an issue.
Are they continuing to do work?
Well, again, that's what I'm saying, so there's equipment on the backside of the stream, and there's some kind of a shed out there, and you can't really see beyond that, so we don't know. The mowing in the front, they have not mowed any more than they already altered. And that's mostly all in Stowe. It's the backside of the pond, looks like that's where the town line is.
Have they violated any Stowe town ordinances?
The Stowe town's wetland bylaw.
So why can't the police go on there?
The police have gone on it,
Oh,
but they were told to get off, and they went there when he was doing work, when he was actually mowing, and they went and served him notice that he was in violation. But again, he's not communicating with anyone, and they were hoping to get pressure from DEP. I don't know if their bylaw allows them to arrest someone because they've violated. I mean, so, you know.
Aren't they incurring fees?
I don't know that. You mean fines?
Fines.
Okay.
Is that after?
Well, they've already
Issue
issued
enforcement.
they've already issued an enforcement order.
Oh, so isn't there like with those, there's a date after which you incur?
Well, I'm not sure what Stowe's doing. We issued a letter saying that we don't know what's going on in Bolton and we'd like you to come and talk to us. I'll have to ask him that. I haven't asked him that.
Okay.
Okay.
You done?
Yes.
Sure.
So next time, again, we have those other hearings that we already started at 7, so we won't do the administration quite up front, but I will still try to keep the 9 o'clock, the deadline, for wetland, and then have other stuff, an opportunity for other stuff.
Ding,
What?
adjourn, hitting the bell. Does Teresa know we've